Lin Feng soon understood how to save the king-level woman. Because more than an hour later, the chaos inside the portable space finally calmed down. He looked at the clothes scattered across the ground and went quiet for a moment. Some things didn't need to be explained. In that sealed space, Lin Feng had crossed a line he'd never crossed before. He'd become a man. Truthfully, he hadn't even properly seen her face at the start. He only had the vague impression that she was beautiful. Now, with everything settled, he finally looked down. The king-level woman seemed asleep, breathing steady, expression calm. Her face carried a soft, fragile kind of beauty, like rain on pear blossoms, the kind that made people instinctively lower their voice. She looked as if she were in her 20s, though at king level, appearance was meaningless. Bone age could be far older, but the face rarely changed. Lin Feng held her carefully, wanting to set her down, but his arms didn't move for a long time. Time slipped by. He didn't know how long it was before her long eyelashes trembled. Then she opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was Lin Feng's gaze, bright and clear, like starlight. For a split second, her eyes lit up. Then she realized their situation. "What?" she exclaimed, face flushing instantly. That sudden blush, that shift in emotion, mixed with the warmth of everything that had just happened. Lin Feng's mind went blank for a beat. And then, once again, time passed. More than an hour. Then another. Until finally, the space fell completely silent. The king-level woman sat up and dressed, back turned. Lin Feng stood behind her, awkward and quiet. At first, he could still tell himself it was purely to save her. But after that, he hadn't been able to stop. When she finished dressing, there was still a faint blush on her face. "Thank you," she said softly, "for saving me." Her voice still carried weakness, but it was far better than before. Then she steadied herself and continued, forcing calm into her tone. "If you ever face danger in the future, I will act for you 3 times. That repays your life-saving grace." Her face reddened even more as she spoke. "I need to recover. If you want to leave, I can open the exit for you. And after you leave, treat what happened here as a dream." She walked toward the pavilion, but after only a step her legs softened, as if the poison's after-effects were still biting, or for other reasons she didn't want to name. She swayed. Before she could fall, Lin Feng was already there, supporting her. Even after everything between them, the moment his hand touched her arm, her face flushed again. "I'll help you over," Lin Feng said. He didn't wait for her answer. He guided her to the pavilion and helped her sit. Then he took out a pale white spirit fruit and placed it in her hand. "This will help you heal." It was an intermediate spirit fruit, mutated, especially effective for recovery. She didn't take it at first. So Lin Feng simply pressed it into her palm. She ate quietly. Her injuries weren't severe. The real issue had been that poison, the kind that demanded a man to resolve it. Lin Feng had already done that. But there were still after-effects. And the biggest reason she felt weak right now. Neither of them spoke about it. After finishing the fruit, she looked a little better. She took out a spirit stone and recovered for over an hour. When her state stabilized, she opened a window to observe outside. No aliens followed. She closed it quickly, then looked away from Lin Feng, as if meeting his eyes was still difficult. "Can you go out for a while?" she asked, voice low. "I need to take a shower." Lin Feng nodded immediately. "All right." He left her space, checked the surroundings, then returned to his own. The moment he stepped inside, a cheerful voice exploded. "Master, you're back. Next time there's a fight like that, you have to call me. It was so fun. I'll burn all your enemies." Hua Wu bounced around happily, flames twisting into animal shapes at her fingertips, a fire dragon, a tiger, a lion. Just flame forms, but vivid and fierce. After transforming, she was still in her little flame Lolita shape, attitude as fiery as ever. Hot-tempered, but obedient in front of Lin Feng. More than that, she wanted to show off. "Okay," Lin Feng said and casually praised her. Hua Wu practically lit up. "Master, you're the best." Tong patted over and rubbed against him. Then she sniffed him. Her ears twitched. "Meow." Suspicion. Lin Feng knew exactly what she was smelling. So he made the smartest choice. Go, take a shower. He went to wash, changed clothes, and stepped back out. Brother, another success. Tao floated over and handed him a fresh petal. Inside it, sword light had been engraved again, the same sword light from the swordsman connected to the broken sword. This one could threaten even a king-level evolver. And compared to the first petal, the power felt closer to the original, sharper, heavier. That petal had consumed a high-grade spirit stone. Lin Feng carefully put it away. Now he had 2 king-threatening petals. 2 extra trump cards. He patted Tao Yao's head gently. Her body felt more solid than before. Her transformation time was getting longer. Sometimes, when Lin Feng slept, she would lie beside him quietly, keeping him company. Tao Yao's cheeks were faintly red. Master, several more sisters were born. Do you want to see? More like Tao Yao? Lin Feng followed her to the flower-growing area on the left side of the space. That section had grown huge. He'd planted countless flowers and scattered seeds everywhere. Now it had become a true sea of blossoms. He'd even named it Baiwa Valley. Most of the flowers had evolved into spirit plants, but a small number had awakened spiritual consciousness. As Lin Feng approached, he saw several flowers that had transformed into tiny winged women. They were only fist-sized, but their features were delicate and beautiful, like miniature fairies. Master. Their wings fluttered as they flew to greet him respectfully. They had taken a different path from Tao Yao and Bai He. More like the flower fairies from old anime, not pure combat, but support and life abilities. Each had small talents. They could nurture spirit plants and improve growth. They could adjust temperature within a limited range, even influence local climate slightly. For Lin Feng, that wasn't cute. That was useful. His space was expanding. It needed caretakers. Tao Yao, Bai He, and Xiang Wei leaned more toward combat evolution. These little flower fairies could manage the ecosystem itself. If the space kept upgrading, it might eventually become a small world. Not yet, of course. Even now, the area was 480,000 square meters, which was only 0.48 square kilometers. A little over 600 meters in length and width. Not even a full kilometer. Still, growth was growth. Step by step. Lin Feng gave the flower fairies names one by one, then left the valley. He figured the king-level woman should be done by now. He exited his space. Not long after, she appeared. Fresh clothes. Clean scent. Her condition clearly improved, and king-level pressure radiated naturally from her body again. She still looked a little unnatural when facing Lin Feng, but she forced herself back into composure. How's your recovery? Lin Feng asked. Fine, she replied. But this area is within King Dingnan's territory. You shouldn't stay long. As she spoke, she handed Lin Feng a small white stone. If you're ever in danger, crush it. I'll come. She looked ready to leave. And sure enough, after giving it to him, she rose into the sky. Lin Feng hesitated, then chased after her. Not to cling, but because she was the first human he'd met here, and he knew nothing about this region. He turned into a streak of lightning and caught up. She glanced at him without speaking. Lin Feng asked directly, "Where is this place?" That made her look at him again. "You're not from here?" "No," Lin Feng said. "I was ambushed by aliens. I used a treasure to escape and ended up here by accident." She lowered her altitude slightly. Southern border. Southern border. Lin Feng frowned. It didn't feel like the powerful southern city clusters he'd heard of. The terrain here, the endless mountains and forests, felt more like the old Southwest. But Earthstar had expanded. Landscapes had shifted. Space rifts merged into regions over time. Maps meant less and less. Lin Feng asked, "Is there a city nearby?" "Yes." Then Lin Feng asked, "What's your name?" She stayed silent for several seconds before finally speaking. "Xin Xinyue." Then she added 3 more words, sharp and urgent. "Enter the forest." She dove into the trees. Lin Feng followed. This forest was real wilderness. The trees were monstrous, many close to 100 meters tall. Thick canopy, deep shadow. Miasma drifted in the air. Poisonous snakes and insects were everywhere. Even so, Xinxinhua flew fast. Any poisonous insect that tried to approach was shredded by the sword intent around her before it came close. Her strength wasn't weak at all, which only made Lin Feng more curious how she had been hit earlier. He kept following and asked, "Do you know the situation in other areas?" "I don't know. Have you heard of the Evolutionary Alliance?" "Evolutionary Alliance?" She turned her head and looked at him again. Lin Feng's eyes were still bright and clean. No smugness, no greasy satisfaction, none of the ugliness some men carried after getting what they wanted. His face was handsome, but more than that, his presence felt steady, upright, reliable. For a few seconds, her gaze lingered. Then she seemed to remember something. Her expression turned slightly unnatural, and warmth rose on her cheeks. After all, what happened in that space wasn't something she could erase from her mind with a sentence. She looked away. "I've never heard of it." That answer confirmed it. This region wasn't part of the Coastal 3-Zone network. No alliance reach, no shared system. Xinxinhua continued flying in one direction. Lin Feng stayed close. After more than 2 hours, the terrain became even more complex, thicker mountains, deeper ridges. Xinxinhua stopped at a waterfall pouring down a cliff. Then she plunged straight through it. Lin Feng followed. Behind the curtain of water was a wide cave. She dove into the pool beneath the falls. Lin Feng went after her. The pool was deep, and the underwater passages were twisted and narrow. They moved through dark channels until an underground cavern opened ahead. As Xinxinhua surfaced, a voice echoed. "The city lord is back." Lin Feng surfaced behind her. The cave was dim, but his eyes adjusted instantly. Several evolutionaries were present. A female evolver flew over and looked at Lin Feng cautiously. "City Lord, who is he?" Xinxinhua answered with just 2 words. "A guest." Then she flew onward. Lin Feng followed. No one stopped him after that. They moved deeper through a new passage, and soon, a brightly lit underground city appeared ahead, glowing warm inside the stone like a hidden ember. Dungeon. Lin Feng stared at the underground city in front of him. It was built inside a massive cave that clearly stretched deep beneath the earth. Beside the city, an underground river thundered past, fast and steady, like a living artery feeding everything here. It wasn't just water either. Downstream, Lin Feng spotted a hydroelectric station. So that was it, the whole dungeon's power supply. Near the riverbanks, moss and hardy plants clung to the rocks in wide patches. In Lin Feng's perception, those weren't random growths. They were the city's lungs, producing oxygen and keeping the air from going stale in this enclosed world. The river itself was sizable, but nothing compared to the scale of Sioux City, which meant the population here couldn't be anywhere close to millions. This should be the Southwest, Lin Feng murmured to himself. Karst caves like this were everywhere in the Yunnan-Guizhou region back before he crossed over. The terrain matched perfectly. And if his guess was right, then Xinxinhua wasn't just passing through. She was the city lord of this place. Humans here didn't live on the surface. They survived underground, in darkness and stone. Compared to the 5 eastern cities that could hold territory, fight aliens, and even push for resources, this place felt like it was living in a different era entirely. A forgotten era. Not long after, Xinxinhua descended into the city. Lin Feng followed. She landed in a stone palace at the center of the dungeon. The structure was built from plain rock, but it was still elegant, carefully carved, with clean lines and a sense of authority. A city lord couldn't live without a seat of power, even if she owned a portable space. Lin Feng didn't go in with her. Instead, he dropped onto the streets. The city was busy. People moved through the lanes, traders called out from makeshift stalls, and small transactions happened constantly. It looked alive, but the life here was behind. Lin Feng pulled out his phone and checked again. No Wi-Fi. No signal. And more importantly, no one around him was carrying electronics at all. At least the streetlights worked. Every road was brightly lit, powered and maintained, giving the dungeon a strange sense of safety despite being buried underground. As Lin Feng walked, people kept staring. He was unfamiliar, an outsider face in a place that probably didn't see outsiders often. By the time he reached Shin Shinua's palace again, he had a rough understanding of the dungeon's level. They likely had portable spaces here too, but civilization hadn't properly recovered. Back in Sioux City, the defense line had full network coverage, a restored power grid, and even psionic products circulating among higher-level evolutionaries. Lin Feng's own phone wasn't normal tech anymore. Its battery could last months because it used psionic engineering. In the eastern region, civilization hadn't just recovered. It was evolving. Here, none of that existed. When you were surrounded by aliens and forced underground just to stay alive, surviving was already an achievement. Progress beyond that was almost impossible. This really is a forgotten corner, Lin Feng thought. And worse, he had no idea how many other forgotten corners existed in this world. At the palace entrance, 2 female guards blocked his path. Before they could say much, Shin Shinua's voice came from inside. "Xiaoya, let him in." Lin Feng stepped through. Inside was simple but spotless. Everything was placed neatly, like someone here still cared about order. Shin Shinua sat at a long stone table while a woman reported to her. It was a resource report. Food and vegetables came mainly from planting-type spaces. Meat depended on strong evolutionaries hunting outside, stuffing the catch into their spaces, and hauling it back. There was also an underground lake nearby, filled with fish, acting like a natural pantry for the entire city. Lin Feng listened quietly until the woman finished and left. Then only Lin Feng and Shin Shinue remained. "If you're staying as a guest," Shin Shinue said, "I'll have someone arrange a room." Lin Feng didn't take the hint. "I want to know the situation outside. The aliens around here." That was one reason he followed her in the first place. He needed to confirm where he'd been taken by the Shifting Star Mansion, and he needed to understand what kind of enemy territory this dungeon was surviving inside. Shin Shinua's expression tightened slightly. "The area here belongs to the Three-Eyed Clan. The ones with 3 eyes, the kind you killed." So that was the name. Lin Feng kept his tone calm. "How strong are they?" "Very strong," she said immediately. "They have many kings. The entire southern border has basically been divided by them. Different areas belong to different kings. In our zone, the main threat is King Dingnan." King Dingnan. Lin Feng had already heard the name before entering the dungeon, but now it carried weight. "King Dingnan has multiple kings under him," Shin Shinua continued. "I killed one yesterday, but I was poisoned by a formation he set." So that was why she looked like she was forcing herself upright. Before Lin Feng could press further, a voice shouted from outside. "City Lord, the people from Cave City came to our fishing area again. They injured many of us." Shin Shinue stood instantly and walked out. Lin Feng followed. The moment they cleared the palace, Shin Shinue took to the air and shot forward along the underground river's route. Lin Feng flew behind her. After a short distance, the passage opened into a huge underground lake where the river crashed in. The surface was dotted with ships gathered in tight clusters. As they reached the fleet, Lin Feng saw 2 groups of evolutionaries facing off. "This has always been Rongqing's fishing area," someone shouted. "Why are you people from Cave City here again?" "Rongqing," the other side sneered. "Your city lord went to rob King Dingnan's spirit stone mine and got surrounded. She's not coming back. In a few days, Rongqing won't even belong to you anymore." The air turned sharp. Shin Shinua's face went cold as stone and she dropped down. The moment the Cave City side saw her, several of them stepped back. They clearly hadn't expected her to return alive. "Who told you I wouldn't come back?" Shin Shinua's voice carried killing intent. A lazy voice answered her. "Yo, City Lord Shin is in a bad mood today." A man in black stepped out. Lin Feng watched from behind the crowd, eyes narrowed. Another king-level presence. So it wasn't just one dungeon city in this region. There were multiple underground cities, and their relationship wasn't friendly. In a place with limited resources, that was normal. If Shin Shinue had really died, this city might have been swallowed whole. Shin Shinue stared at the man. "Ding Yun, you owe me an explanation." "Easy," the man said with a smile. He tossed a small bag toward her. Shin Shinue opened it. Inside were broken spirit stones, jagged pieces like gravel. Lin Feng recognized the grade immediately. High-level spirit stone fragments. Not many, not enough to form even one full stone, but still valuable. My people found these in an abandoned alien mine, Ding Yun said casually. Those idiots left them behind. Must be nice to be that rich. Shin Xinyue pocketed the fragments without changing expression. Ding Yun's smile widened. Since you're still alive, then the rules stay the same. Then he faded back, disappearing like smoke. Cave City's fleet retreated immediately, pulling away across the lake. Shin Xinyue moved to check the wounded. Lin Feng stayed quiet, watching. In this forgotten corner, survival rules were brutal and simple. Weakness meant losing everything. Then, a violent splash cracked through the lake. Water monster. Faces changed instantly. Put the boats away first, a well-dressed female evolutionary shouted, taking command fast. Space-type users moved. Boats and fishermen vanished into stored space one by one, leaving the stronger evolutionaries hovering in the air. Lin Feng looked toward the disturbance. A massive octopus-like monster surfaced. Its tentacles were hundreds of meters long, snapping through the air like whips. The seventh-order evolutionaries attacked together. Their strikes shredded the tentacles with wounds, but the tentacles didn't break. The beast barely reacted. When a tentacle swept toward them, the group scattered. Shin Xinyue finally moved. She slashed once. A sword light like a flowing wave cut through the air and severed the tentacle cleanly. But that wasn't the end. The lake erupted again. Densely packed mutant crabs, huge and armored, poured out of the water and climbed onto the shore, swarming toward a passage that led straight back to the underground city. Stop them, someone shouted. Hundreds of defenders opened fire with abilities and weapons, but the crabs kept coming. The beach turned into a moving carpet of shells. And worse, some shells gleamed gold. Some silver. Their defense was terrifying. The defenders were mostly below 7th rank, and their damage wasn't enough. They were getting pushed back. Meanwhile, the octopus thrashed harder, stirring the lake. Waves rose higher and higher, rolling toward the passage like a collapsing wall. Shin Xinyue flew straight at the octopus, sword flashing again and again, cutting tentacles in rapid succession. But the monster's main body stayed hidden underwater, and the more it lost, the more violently it shook the lake. Dozens of 7th-order evolutionaries joined in, but Lin Feng noticed something. Not many energy system users. And the ones who were energy type mostly used water-based abilities. Most people carried swords. Lin Feng understood why. In a place like this, people didn't have access to wide training systems or cultivation knowledge. If Shin Xinyue reached king level through sword evolution, that became the path everyone copied. The most reliable route became the only route. But swords weren't built for stopping a swarm. Especially not a swarm with golden and silver armor. The crabs were about to break into the passage. Then, boom! A terrifying ball of lightning dropped from the air. A chunk of the beach exploded, golden and silver crabs tearing apart instantly. Lin Feng finally stepped in. His thunder power was only 8th order, but the pressure behind it wasn't normal. Boom! Another lightning sphere. Another section of the swarm was wiped out, shells flipping like debris. People around him froze. Even Shin Xinyue glanced back mid-battle, eyes sharp with surprise. Lin Feng didn't slow down. He kept firing lightning spheres, crushing the swarm piece by piece, forcing the beach clear. And as the immediate danger finally eased, the evolutionaries on the field weren't just relieved. They were curious. Because a stranger this strong didn't belong to a forgotten corner like this.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support, we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
When Lin Feng killed all the crabs on the beach. On the other side, Shin Xinyue also killed the big mutant octopus. The corpse of the big octopus floated up. The huge wave set off by the big octopus was eventually blocked by many water system evolutionaries. Then a large number of fishing boats were released. The fishing boats headed for the big octopus, ready to drag the big octopus back for rations. This kind of thing, the people here seemed to be quite skilled. It seemed that from time to time, water monsters would appear in this huge underground lake. The area of this lake is not small. There is no head in sight. I don't know how deep the water is. The water of the underground river rushes down in a turbulent manner, and all of it flows into the underground lake. This kind of flow day and night, I don't know how many years it has flowed, but the underground lake has not been filled. It appears that the lake has other outlets as well. Thank you. If it wasn't for you, there would still be some trouble. After Xin Xingyue killed the big octopus, she came to thank Lin Feng. Otherwise, those mutant crabs would be quite difficult to deal with. Lin Feng looked at the huge underground lake and said, "How big is this lake?" Xin Xingyue said, "It's very big. The radius is almost more than 300 kilometers. Is it more than 300 kilometers in diameter? That's really big enough. If this underground lake is round, then the area of this underground lake exceeds 80,000 square kilometers. You must know that before Lin Feng crossed over, the area of the municipality directly under the central government was only over 80,000 square kilometers. This underground lake should have been formed after the aura recovered and the Earth star became larger. However, after the Earth star becomes larger, such lakes will not be formed casually." Thinking of the large number of mutant crabs that appeared in it, and the big octopus whose strength may have reached the 9th rank, Lin Feng asked again, "Do such water monsters often appear?" Xin Xingyue said, "Well, it will appear every once in a while, and occasionally there will be king-level water monsters." King water monster. In such an underground lake, could a king-level water monster be born? Moreover, this underground lake is too big. Lin Feng felt inexplicably. Or, there's something under this underground lake. Or, this underground lake is a space fissure or the lake that is all water, and it becomes a fusion with the Earth star. Have you sent anyone to explore the lake? Lin Feng asked Xin Xingyue again. Xin Xingyue nodded, yes, but after diving to the deepest point, except for some mutant fish, I didn't find anything. I don't know where these 16 water monsters came from. Space cracks. Hearing Xin Xingyue's words, Lin Feng thought of these words. Below this underground lake, it is very likely that a space crack is connected. The entrance of the space crack is opened from time to time, and then a water monster emerges. There is probably a lot of water in the cracks in this space. Of course, these are still guesses. There is no way to verify it yet. Lin Feng hides these doubts in his heart. Even if there are space cracks, Lin Feng is not ready to explore for the time being. His strength is not enough. There are still a lot of dangers in the space cracks, like the space cracks that competed with aliens last time. There are also a lot of dangers. However, in front of the powerful evolutionary army of the 5 cities, those dangers are not worth mentioning. But now, Lin Feng doesn't have that many kings around him, as well as stronger evolutionaries like City Lord Su and City Lord Hai. Bringing Xin Xingyue is not necessarily insurance. What if there are a bunch of king-level water monsters in there? In addition, if you look for it now, it is estimated that you will not be able to find the entrance. Therefore, Lin Feng suppressed this matter temporarily. On the other hand, Xin Xingyue had some doubts about Lin Feng's successive questions. Seeing that Lin Feng had stopped asking, she didn't think much about it. Lin Feng guessed that Xin Xingyue probably didn't even know what the space crack was. To be able to cultivate to the level of a king in this forgotten corner, without anyone's guidance and without any reference, Xin Xingyue's talent is probably very astonishing. But her understanding of the outside world is definitely not as much as the evolutionary people in Sucheng. Xingyue, arrange a room for me, I'm going to practice here for a while. Lin Feng said. Dive here for a period of time and wait for the strength to go further. When the time comes, whether it's going to explore underwater. Still have to find the way back to Sioux City. It will be all right. Strength is the key. Have the strength to travel the world. It is impossible to move without strength. Hearing Lin Feng calling her Xingyue, Xin Xingyue's face flushed slightly. Beside her, the other evolutionaries looked at Lin Feng subconsciously. Such a name. But no one had dared to call Shin Xinyue that way. It is good. Shin Xinyue agreed. Seeing that Shin Xinyue was not at all angry, the evolutionaries under Shin Xinyue were a little surprised. The fire of gossip could not help but burn in his heart. They were all curious about the relationship between Lin Feng and Shin Xinyue. Yushan, you clean up the battlefield and store all the meat. Shin Xinyue made arrangements. Yes, the mayor. A female evolutionary said. Let's go. After making arrangements, Shin Xinyue flew to the underground city. Lin Feng also flew to the dungeon. Soon. Back to the dungeon. You live in this room. Shin Xinyue arranged Lin Feng's room behind the palace. That area should be where Shin Xinyue lives, and in front of the palace is where she works. Okay, by the way, these books are for you. You can ask someone to copy some. 9. Lin Feng took out a large number of cultivation books. These books, in Sioux City, can be bought for a few $100s. It's as cheap as a stall book. No, originally there were a lot of them on the street stalls. Shin Xinyue picked up a book and glanced at it. Her face changed. She quickly flipped through the book, and soon, flipped through other books. The more she turned, the more serious the expression on her face became. Soon, she roughly flipped through all the books. Although she is a sword evolutionary, but she can still see the authenticity of these books. So many cultivation secrets? Will you give them all to me? Shin Xinyue couldn't believe it. Lin Feng nodded. Well, if you find someone to copy a few more copies, it should help you. 35. Shin Xinyue took a deep breath, put her hand on her chest, and lowered her head to Lin Feng. Thank you. These secrets are too precious. You're welcome. 99. Lin Feng said. Shin Xinyue looked at Lin Feng and was a little curious. Where you came from. The strength of the evolutionary person must be very powerful, right? Lin Feng nodded. Well, however, there are not too many evolutionaries like you. Maybe it was after getting familiar with it, plus it took so long. Shin Xinyue is not like at the beginning, because she has had that kind of relationship with Lin Feng. She is embarrassed to talk to Lin Feng. Therefore, her words also increased a little. How's the situation over there? Shin Xinyue asked again. Lin Feng said, fortunately, we have a lot of people and a lot of cities. He briefly described the situation in Sucheng. Hearing that, Shin Xinyue couldn't help but feel a little envious. At the same time, there is some comfort. Over the years, she has never met anyone from other regions. I don't know if there are any other human beings in this world besides the dungeons in this area. Now she knows. In this world, it's not just her who persists. In other areas, there are some stronger human beings. Those human beings have been able to live on the ground, and even tough with aliens. This gave her a lot of confidence. These books don't need to be hidden. After transcribing them, they should all be passed on. 5. Lin Feng said to Shin Xinyue. Shin Xinyue nodded. You rest first, I'll make arrangements. She said again. Good. 95. Lin Feng said. In this way, Lin Feng settled down in Shin Xinyue's underground city. He entered the portable space again, preparing to continue to practice in it for a while. Anyway, Linkshire and various resources are enough. In addition, even if the space is closed for a long time, there is no need to worry about the lack of air. Because some spiritual plants, as well as aquatic plants, can also produce air after absorbing spiritual energy. In space, Lin Feng began to spend more time on creating the second sword technique. He has a feeling. Once the second move swordsmanship is created, he can officially enter the 9th order with the second sword technique. Before, although Lin Feng killed a 9th-rank three-eyed clansman, he relied on the sharpness of the sword intent at the peak of the transformation level. Sword intent cannot be directly linked or equated with a specific realm. Sword intent is not a realm. Currently, Lin Feng's specific realm, in terms of the lightning element, is the 8th rank. In terms of sword-type evolutionists, it can also be considered an 8th order. If he wants to reach the 9th rank, even if the sword intent goes further, it will not be counted as the 9th rank. Of course, if Lin Feng's sword intent goes further, from the peak of transformation level, it will break through to extinction level soon. Lin Feng felt that with his sword intent alone, he could threaten the king level. It's just a threat because the Wang level has many means if the other party stands in front of Lin Feng and fights against Lin Feng. Lin Feng slashed down, and with the sword intent of annihilation, the opponent might not be able to stop him. But the power of the king-level evolutionary is all-round power. If Lin Feng wants to kill the king only with sword intent, he must grasp the timing. From the peak of the transformation level to the extinction level, the difficulty is not small. Moreover, Lin Feng felt that only after the second move of the sword technique could be created, the sword intent could continue to progress. Otherwise, it is very likely to get stuck here. So, Lin Feng began to use the sword intent of the peak transformation level over and over again in the space, trying to create the second technique of swordsmanship. He still chooses the same as before. Speed up 7 hours a day. These 7 hours can be turned into 210 hours. Dive practice in space can also trigger epiphany from time to time. Not boring. Moreover, from time to time, they can also practice with Tong Tong and the others. Tao and the others also spend a lot of time with Lin Feng every day. In the practice, time also passed quite quickly. Soon, 210 hours were used up. Lin Feng noticed that someone was approaching outside. When he saw it, it was Xin Xinyue. Lin Feng walked out of the space. Xin Xinyue was carrying some food. It seemed that she brought food to Lin Feng. Life in the dungeon is a little more difficult, and there are not many varieties of vegetables. Please forgive me, Xin Xinyue said. Lin Feng didn't say he didn't need it, but took it. After all, even a king-level person sent it over in person. Thanks, Lin Feng said. Seeing that Xin Xinyue had no intention of leaving, Lin Feng was just hungry, so he started to eat. The taste is not bad. When Xin Xinyue saw that Lin Feng had finished eating, she put away the tableware and chopsticks. After thinking about it, Lin Feng still stopped her and told her that she didn't need to worry about her own food. Xin Xinyue agreed. Lin Feng went back to the space and started to practice. In the next few days, Xin Xinyue did not appear again, probably because she was afraid of disturbing Lin Feng. After Lin Feng practiced for a few days, he still felt a little bit worse. After killing all the 30 or so aliens before, Lin Feng was a little bit entertained, but he still lacked enough opportunities to try his sword. When the realm of sword intent is not high enough, there is actually no need for much actual combat. But the sword intent realm is high, and the demand is naturally more. Like Ling Qingqiu's master, he is a king-level sword-type evolutionary. But her sword intent is only the peak of transformation level. Lin Feng's current sword intent is at the same level as Master Ling Qingqiu's sword intent. By the way, she also practices swords. After thinking about it, Lin Feng remembered that Xin Xinyue was also a sword-type evolutionary. Moreover, Xin Xinyue is also a king-level sword-type evolutionary. On the contrary, you can ask Xin Xinyue to discuss. Don't worry about hurting her. So, Lin Feng walked out of the room and went to find Xin Xinyue. I looked around, but couldn't find it. I guess she went into the space. Lin Feng thought about it and came to her residence. The city lord is cultivating, but the city lord said that if you have something to do, let me report. A little girl who was guarding Xin Xinyue's residence said. The little girl will report soon. After a while, Xin Xinyue appeared. Her complexion looked better. It seems that the injury has completely recovered. You. Xin Xinyue stopped halfway through, because she suddenly realized. She doesn't know Lin Feng's name yet. My name is Lin Feng. Lin Feng saw the reason why she stopped and took the initiative to say her name. On the contrary, it relieved Xin Xinyue and avoided her embarrassment. There was a hint of gratitude in Xin Xinyue's eyes, and she said, Lin Feng, is there something wrong? 99. Lin Feng drew out his sword. Xinyue, would you like to practice sword with me? Sword practice? Seeing Lin Feng's sword, Xin Xinyue remembered that when she was about to lose her strength, it seemed that Lin Feng rushed out and killed the 8th and 9th ranked Tianmu people with a sword. However, at that time, she was in a daze, and she didn't have a strong feeling for Lin Feng's sword intent. Only vaguely remember does not seem weak. $7. Xin Xinyue agreed. She took Lin Feng to an open space behind the palace. Here, Several little girls who served as Shin Shinue's guards all year round also came. Shin Shinue said, "Go ahead and do your best." Now her temperament has changed. The feeling of becoming that powerful king-level evolutionary is completely different. As a king-level evolutionary, Shin Shinue naturally has enough confidence in her own strength. "I am coming." After Lin Feng finished speaking, the sword in his hand slashed. This time, he did not use first sight, but pure sword intent. After all, he wanted to temper his sword intent and take this opportunity to create a second move. As soon as Lin Feng shot, the sword intent of Huaj and Peak attacked Shin Shinue. Although Shin Shinue did not take it lightly, she did not take it too seriously. After all, she is a powerful king, and Lin Feng has not yet reached the king. After reaching the king level, it is difficult to hide 830 unless the strength is much stronger than the opponent. But with Lin Feng shot, the expression on Shin Shinue's face changed. Because she felt that Lin Feng's sword intent was too terrifying and too sharp. It is even higher than her sword intent. Shin Shinue's sword moved, and a sword light shot out. Although Lin Feng's sword intent is sharp, it is now difficult to fight against the king-level sword light. Immediately, Lin Feng's sword intent disappeared. But Lin Feng's attack came again. The sword in his hand was constantly swaying, and the sword intent that belonged to the peak of the transformation level kept attacking. Like a storm. Back then, the 9th-rank three-eyed clansman died because of Lin Feng's style of play. Sword after sword. There was no chance for that 9th-order Sama clan at all. That guy can only be led by Lin Feng's nose. Because as long as the rhythm of that guy's defense is a little chaotic, it will be over. Simply unable to carry out other attacks or do other things. Now, Lin Feng still adopts this style of play. Since Shin Shinue was a king, Lin Feng didn't have to worry about hurting her. The sword kept swinging. One after another invisible sword intent kept attacking. On the opposite side, the expression on Shin Shinue's face has become extremely serious. The long sword in her hand also kept swinging, blocking Lin Feng's sword intent. If it was pure sword intent, she would naturally be unable to fight against Lin Feng. But she is a king-level sword-type evolutionary, and the attacks belonging to the king level are extremely sharp. In this way, she kept blocking, Lin Feng kept attacking. After fighting for nearly an hour, Lin Feng finally stopped. "Happy Shinue, I'll come back to you tomorrow." Lin Feng had a great feeling, and after leaving a sentence, he directly entered the space on the spot. Then, sat there and realized it. Until the evening, after Lin Feng ate a spiritual fruit, he started a new day of acceleration and continued. The next day, after the accelerated time was over, Lin Feng gained even more. Out of space again. Not long after leaving the space, Shin Shinue appeared. She was wearing a white dress and holding a long sword, and was already waiting there. "It's just right. I am coming." After Lin Feng said hello, he launched an attack. Shin Shinue still focused on defense. With her strength, it is naturally impossible for the 9th-order Tianmu to be controlled by Lin Feng's rhythm. While she wanted to defend against Lin Feng's sword intent attack, she could also launch a counterattack. But Shin Shinue didn't fight back too much. Instead, the constant defense allows Lin Feng to attack as he pleases. In this way, it is more than an hour later. After Lin Feng shouted happily, he got into the space. After spending a new day of acceleration in the space, the next day, Lin Feng came again. As soon as Lin Feng appeared, Shin Shinue would appear soon, just like waiting for Lin Feng. Today, she is wearing a light green dress again, which looks quite fresh. "I am coming." Lin Feng launched another attack in his hands. After discussing with Shin Shinue yesterday, Lin Feng felt that he had learned a lot. After returning to the space, he practiced for a long time with Taoyao's sword light, which was re-engraved in the petals. As for the little sword that Long Qingqiu gave, the sword light on it was not enough for the current Lin Feng. It doesn't work anymore. After all, his current strength is not what it used to be. This time, Lin Feng felt that, after another happy battle, he should be able to break through that layer of paper and successfully create the second sword technique. The rear of the palace in the center of the dungeon. Lin Feng kept attacking. On the opposite side, Xin Xinyue was impervious to the wind. Unlike the previous 2 days, from time to time, Xin Xinyue would launch a counterattack. However, she controlled the strength of the counterattack, and the attack was not a king-level attack, but at the 9th order level. In the face of the 9th level sword light, Lin Feng did not choose to avoid it and was able to quickly smash it with sword intent. Xin Xinyue's king-level strength is indeed formidable. Control of combat is also very good. This open space behind the palace is not small, but it is not particularly large. If Xin Xinyue hadn't completely intercepted Lin Feng's sword intent, the damage to the surrounding area would not be small. And her sword light, if not well controlled, will also bring a lot of damage. But she's all in control. Every time, it can successfully defeat Lin Feng's sword intent. At the same time, her own attack will not cause any damage to the surrounding area. This control. Level 9 can't do it. This is the king class. 10 9th level teams joined forces, but they couldn't beat a king level, and the strength of the king level was evident. On the opposite side, Lin Feng was still attacking. Meow. 35. Tongtong and Xiaoxue also came out to watch the battle. Xin Xinyue also knew about Tongtong's existence. No surprise. Tongtong and Xiaoxue stood on the fence beside, watching the battle between Lin Feng and Xin Xinyue. Can be seen. On the side of Tongtong's head, there is a peach blossom. This makes Tongtong look extra cute. Seeing Lin Feng's constant attacks, Tongtong's little paws raised, as if to cheer Lin Feng. Xiaoxue and the others watched quietly. Huowu's little flame, darting from time to time, seems to be eager to try. This flaming little loli has a particularly hot temper. What I want to do most is to burn down all Lin Feng's enemies so that Lin Feng can see her strength and praise her by the way. That's what made her very happy. In this open space, Lin Feng's attack continued. On the opposite side, Xin Xinyue felt that the feeling of Lin Feng's sword intent today had changed a bit more. At this time, a new change has come. Lin Feng split a sword light. But this sword light gave Xin Xinyue the feeling that it did not fully exert the power of the peak transformation level sword intent. Although sword intent is powerful, it has a fatal weakness in purely using sword intent to attack. That's the issue of attack distance. It is difficult to attack too far with pure sword intent. After reaching the king level, some of the evolutionary energy system, you have not seen him, he can attack you. Attack you from a few kilometers away. No matter how strong the sword intent is, he can only be beaten passively. But with sword light or sword energy, it's different. Cultivation to the high depths, the sword energy is vertical and horizontal, and the sword is down, killing people thousands of miles away. That's called a great one. Just like the sword light of the supreme power in Broken Sword. Mighty. No one saw it, and the sword light broke through a distance of unknown number of kilometers. Of course, only the sword light is still not sharp enough, and it is still a disadvantage in the face of those energy system evolutionaries. Carrying one's own sword intent with the sword light can make an earth-shaking change in combat power. When Lin Feng was weak before, the enemy he faced was not strong. With the sword intent alone, one can kill indiscriminately. But if the strength is stronger, if it is still only the sword intent, it will definitely not work. Moreover, if you don't create a swordsmanship that carries the sword intent will be limited if you want to continue to progress. Unless Lin Feng completely reproduces the sword intent of the supreme powerhouse. But that doesn't make sense anymore. Although the Xian is strong, if Lin Feng learns from her completely, it can't be stronger than her. After all, what she has practiced is the most suitable for her. Lin Feng is definitely not as good as her if she goes to study completely. In the later stage, if you don't have your own things, it will be difficult to make progress. Therefore, Lin Feng now has to create the second sword move. Closer to home. Immediately after a sword light, Lin Feng's second sword light came. This sword light gave Xin Xinyue a different feeling. Seem a lot more skilled. The sword intent at the peak of the transformation level contained in it is even sharper. Immediately afterwards, the third sword light appeared. This sword light is even more different from the second sword light. The three sword lights of Lin Feng are different from one another. Seem. The first sword light was like a newborn baby. The second sword light, this baby has learned to speak. The third sword light, this baby has learned to walk. To Shen Xinyue, the power is getting bigger and bigger, and it is getting better and better. Moreover, Lin Feng seems to be perfecting the sword light. She vaguely guessed what Lin Feng was doing. However, she was not so sure. At the same time, she was puzzled. Lin Feng's sword intent is so powerful. Why, the cultivation in the sword element is far behind her. Hiding these puzzles, Shen Xinyue continued to practice swords with Lin Feng. Lin Feng's sword light was still coming. It made her feel more and more perfect. In the sword light, the sword intent that belongs to the peak of the transformation level is also becoming more and more sharp. Once Lin Feng's cultivation in the sword element increases, this kind of sword light, combined with sword intent, will be sharper than pure sword intent. At the same time, it can also attack farther. Lin Feng's sword intent is also very different from Shen Xinyue's. Shen Xinyue's sword intent has a lot to do with water. She named herself Shuiwe Jiani because she doesn't have any skills. It's completely figured out by myself. Therefore, this sword intent also belongs to her alone. Water is soft and firm. Soft and firm. Therefore, Shen Xinyue's sword intent, at first glance, may feel that there is no edge. However, once you underestimate it, you will experience it for yourself. The water is just as strong. Under Lin Feng's constant attack, it collided with Lin Feng's incomparably sharp sword intent. Shen Xinyue also felt faintly these 2 days. Her sword intent, stimulated by Lin Feng's stronger sword intent, also began to loosen. Lin Feng's attacks continued. One sword, another sword. The sword light kept splitting out. This sword light, if you only look at the outside, seems to be no different from Lin Feng's first sight. But if someone is opposite Lin Feng and experiences the two moves personally, they will feel that the two moves are completely different. Jianguang is also constantly improving. On the opposite side, Shen Xinyue was still impervious to the wind. At this moment, Shen Xinyue noticed something. What she noticed was Lin Feng's state. Seem. Some kind of breakthrough is about to come. This is her keenness as a king-level sword-type evolutionary. After realizing this, Shen Xinyue's momentum changed the next second. Her long sword cut out. A mighty sword light, which is not known how much more powerful than the previous sword light, slashed towards Lin Feng. Feeling the energy contained in Shen Xinyue's sword light, Xiaoxue couldn't stand a little bit, but Tongtong's little paws stood in front of her, as if telling her that it's okay. When Tongtong's little paws move, the sword light came. Drink. 35. This sword light gave Lin Feng enormous pressure, and at the same time, under the stimulation of the sword light. Finally, Lin Feng broke through a certain key point. He raised his sword and slashed out with a sharp sword. A dazzling sword light rushed out. We'll see. Shen Xinyue's sword light, which had almost reached the king level, was shattered by Lin Feng's sword just like that. Lin Feng's aura was also rising. He broke through. Shin Xinyue realized this. Lin Feng in the sword department has broken through. In one fell swoop, he became a ninth-order sword-type evolutionary. She looked at Lin Feng, and when she saw it, she found that at this moment, Lin Feng seemed to be glowing. Such Lin Feng made Shin Xinyue's eyes light up. He couldn't take his eyes off Lin Feng anymore, as if looking at it. In fact, it's not just her. The little girls who acted as her guards also stared blankly, their eyes glowing and their mouths slightly open. On the side, Tong Tong and Xiaoxue looked at Lin Feng in a daze. Lin Feng broke through the ninth order in one fell swoop and let out a long howl. Then, he turned his head and looked at Shin Xinyue. Shin Xinyue's last blow was very crucial. As expected of being a king, she could easily grasp Lin Feng's state. Lin Feng's eyes met Shin Xinyue's eyes in the air. For eyes facing each other. This moment. Inexplicable. Shin Xinyue's heart skipped a beat. The blood flow rate also started to increase. This inexplicable change in her heart made Shin Xinyue a little flustered. She has never had such an experience. The heart is like a deer, thumping and thumping. Even if, because she was hit by King Ding Nan's poison array, she had a relationship with Lin Feng in the space. And after she woke up, Lin Feng gave her X. At that time, she was just too embarrassed. But there is no such feeling as now. The heartbeat is racing, and the heart is beating. Such a change made Shin Xinyue, who didn't know what happened to her, feel a little overwhelmed. A dignified king-level powerhouse at this time, but like a helpless little girl. So that she didn't dare to look at Lin Feng at all, so she looked away. Lin Feng just broke through, but he didn't notice Shin Xinyue's change. He said, "Xinyue, thank you." "No thanks, I just realized something, so I won't accompany you more." 99. Shin Xinyue was worried that her change would be noticed by Lin Feng, and after leaving a sentence, she hurriedly returned to the room. Then, enter the space again. After entering the space, Shin Xinyue realized that her face also became very red. The heartbeat is also accelerating inexplicably. Plop plop. What's wrong with me? She sat there for a long time before recovering. The appearance of Lin Feng appeared in his mind involuntarily. Then, I don't know why. Thinking of those few hours in space with Lin Feng. Completely red, not only red, but also red to the neck. I'll call you Zhang Yue. In the portable space, Lin Feng struck a sword light, and after defeating the sword light of the supreme power that Tao re-engraved, he whispered softly. He gave himself the second sword move that he created by pushing back the sword intent. Took a name. Cut the Moon. This trick was developed through constant confrontation with Shin Xinyue, so Lin Feng decided to take a word from Shin Xinyue's name. Then, he added another word that was enough to describe his swordsmanship. Cut the Moon. Zhang Yue and Chu Jian, these two sword moves have their own characteristics. All are fierce. But when I first saw it, it was the kind of sword that could be cut in half, no matter what. Zhang Yue is naturally fierce, but Zhang Yue is more domineering and can be used to deal with some powerful and wide-ranging attacks. After this breakthrough, Lin Feng is equivalent to a ninth-order sword-type evolutionary. With the sword intent of the peak of the transformation level, it is enough to kill any ninth-order evolutionary. Even in the face of ordinary kings, they can also fight one or two. Like just now, Shin Xinyue's last attack was infinitely close to a king-level attack. But it was defeated by Lin Feng with a startup. Zhang Yue. The sword intent that can defeat the peak transformation level still plays a great role. That is to say, now that there is a king level, Lin Feng will not be too passive. With such a sharp sword intent, combined with Zhang Yue, Lin Feng's actual combat power is already equivalent to a quasi-king level. Lin Feng did not rest, and after consolidating in the space for several hours, he slept again. Then, Lin Feng started a new day of acceleration and continued to consolidate. Zhang Yue's startup. It has to be used more to be able to consolidate. Once Zhang Yue is completely consolidated, Lin Feng can try to further destroy the sword intent to the level of destruction. Once the sword intent breaks into the destruction rank, even if Lin Feng is not yet in the 10th rank, With the Destruction Sword intent, the 10th rank can be properly killed. Of course, Lin Feng didn't just consolidate Zhanyue. If you practice for too long, your efficiency will drop. Therefore, Lin Feng occasionally continues to strengthen his strength in other aspects. Now, Lin Feng will have a lot of power. In addition to the sword element, there are also thunder element, water element, gravity, spirit, and fist intent. In addition, recently there are wind and fire. The fire element mainly comes from the backfeeding of Huowu. In addition, Lin Feng's body is getting stronger and stronger. Now just the combat power exerted by his body, will not be weaker than a 7th-order power-type evolutionary. It seems that the space can be upgraded to 4 levels. After reaching the 9th level, the conditions for upgrading the 4th-level space are met. Lin Feng took a look and decided to upgrade to the 4th-level space. In the space crack, Lin Feng's harvest is too great. More than 3 million primary spirit stones. Although it has consumed a lot recently, on average, it only needs to smash more than 200 pieces a day in the space, and less than 300 elementary spirit stones are enough. Lin Feng and Tongtong Xiaoxue both used intermediate spirit stones. The primary spirit stones mainly satisfy Lingji and Taoyao. Xianhao 1 month in the space crack, plus 1 month in hiding there to cultivate, plus these few days in the dungeon. Just over 2 months in total. However, there is acceleration time in space. Count it up. The total amount of primary spirit stones used by Lin Feng was about 300,000 yuan. He still has more than 3 million yuan. There are also many intermediate and high-level spiritual stones. Therefore, Lin Feng was promoted to level 4 space. Space Master, Lin Feng. Space Talent, Acceleration, Golden 5 stars, Beast Mastery, Golden 5 stars, Planting, Orange 5 stars, Gravity, Orange 5 stars, Thunder Affinity, Red 5 stars, Fire Affinity, Red 5 stars, Variation, Orange 5 stars, Area, White 5 stars, Evolution, Golden 5 star, 400 times Evolution, Epiphany, Golden 5 star, Recovery, Red 5 star, Solidification, Red 5 star, Comprehension, Golden 5 star, True Spirit, Golden 5 star. New Talent, Longevity, Golden 5 stars. Space Area, 2.56 square kilometers. Space Level, 4. Space Log, Viewable. In the 4th level space, there are more changes. The evolutionary talent has evolved from 300 times to 400 times. The area of the space has doubled from 0.48 square kilometers to 2.56 square kilometers. The side length reaches 1.6 kilometers. The ordinary 4-level space has a side length of 80 meters and an area of 6,400 square meters. For a level 4 space with area talent, the increase in area talent is 400 times. Multiplying 6,400 by 400 is 2.56 million square meters, or 2.56 square kilometers. Compared with the level 3 space, the side length has increased by nearly 1 kilometer. The increase in area is even more astonishing. It has doubled several times. This wave of upgrades is just right. Because Tongtong and their strength are getting stronger and stronger. Generally speaking, the stronger the strength, the slower the growth will be. Because after the strength is strong, each time you rise to a realm, you need more resources. Difficulty also increased. A realm gap is even greater. But as long as the space keeps up, their growth will still be fast. Lin Feng's own growth will not be too slow. After this wave of upgrades, Lin Feng still had a lot of spirit stones in his hands. There are also more than 2 million primary spirit stones. Lin Feng silently realized the changes after the space upgrade. After the space is upgraded, the effects of various talents are further strengthened. Compared to before, the effects of various talents are much better. Unquestionably. Cultivation in space, the speed will become faster. The thunder system has affinity with these elements, and the effect also becomes better. And talents like Epiphany increase the probability. At level 1, The probability of entering Epiphany is 15%, and after reaching level 4, this probability exceeds 20%. Reached 21%. The increase in this probability is not particularly fast. In addition, after the space upgrade, there is a new talent. Long live! Lin Feng looked at this new talent. Space talent, longevity, golden 5 stars. Cultivation in space, aging and lifespan decay time will be delayed by 60%. This spatial talent is impressively slowing down the aging and lifespan decay time. The aging and lifespan decay time has been delayed by a full 60%. This talent is not bad. Although the evolutionary can continue to increase the lifespan with the increase of strength. But the lifespan of an evolutionary cannot be endless after all. Some spiritual fruits and the like can also increase lifespan and delay aging, but eating too much of the same spiritual fruit will also become ineffective. Just like taking too much of the same medicine, the effect of the medicine will be attenuated. After the evolutionary enjoys the acceleration in space, it is equivalent to using a lot of life in space. The time spent in the outside world is naturally shorter than that of people in the outside world. If the evolutionary does not have lifespan growth, 10 days in space, only 1 day outside. From the perspective of the outside world, people who are often in the acceleration space will have a lifespan that is 10 times shorter than those of the outside world. Although the increase in the lifespan of the evolutionary can offset the passing of lifespan caused by the acceleration of space, who does not want to live longer? Now, with this longevity talent, it's even better. Seeing that the effect is enhanced after the space upgrade, Lin Feng continues to consolidate in the space. He is ready, and after consolidating, he will try to let his sword intent break into the annihilation level. Destruction sword intent is very powerful. Once the sword intent is broken into the destruction level, Lin Feng's attack with the destruction sword intent will not be able to stop the idol king level. In space, acceleration is turned on again. When the acceleration time in space is used up, Lin Feng came out of the space refreshed. After leaving the space, Lin Feng found that Xinxingyue did not appear this time. Lin Feng is going to ask her to discuss again. So, Lin Feng shouted. Xinxingyue appeared. Lin Feng launched an attack without saying a word. This time, it took another hour. Xinxingyue seemed to have comprehended this time. After the discussion, she returned to the space. Lin Feng also returned to the space, consolidated in the space until the end of the next day's acceleration time, and then ran out to find Xinxingyue. Xinxingyue also appeared. I am coming. Lin Feng attacked again. Xinxingyue still gave priority to guarding. However, this week, she struggled a lot. In addition, her sword intent seemed to be about to break through. After Lin Feng continued to discuss for a week. Finally, Xinxingyue's sword intent also broke through, reaching the peak of transformation level. Xinxingyue didn't know the distinction between the 5 eastern cities and sword intent. Her own distinction is made by numbers. Lin Feng told her. The peak of transformation. Xinxingyue tasted these 4 words. The next stage is extinction. Lin Feng said. Destroyed. That is the true peak of sword intent. There are also many subdivisions of sword intent of destruction, not just the simple front, middle, and late stages. However, once the sword intent reaches the extinction level, the concept is completely different. Ling Qingxiu's teacher, a king-level sword-type evolutionary, is also the peak of the transformation level and has not reached the extinction level. Now, Xinxingyue's sword intent has just reached the peak of the transformation level, and the distance from the extinction level is far away. It seems that there is only 1 step. But in fact, I don't know how far. After Xinxingyue's sword intent broke through, she returned to the space to consolidate it. Lin Feng also entered the space again and began to cultivate. What about your city lord? On this day, when Lin Feng came out again, he found that Xinxingyue was not there. The city lord has gone to rob King Dingnan's spirit stone mine. A little guard of Xinxingyue. Going to rob mine again? Is Xinxingyue so short of spirit stones? I was injured because of the Jia Lingshire mine earlier and now I'm gone again. Asterisk asterisk. Lin Feng pondered for a while and asked, do you know which direction the spirit stone mine is? Well, after leaving the water pool, you can fly straight to the north. It will take about 3 to 4 hours. Shin Xinyue's little guard said. Go north after exiting the water pool. Lin Feng thought for a while, flew into the sky, and flew out of the dungeon. There has been a lot of progress in this period of time. Just want to see it too. A spirit stone mine should contain a lot of spirit stones. Although Lin Feng has a lot of spirit stones in his hands now. However, no one would think that there is more of such a thing as a spirit stone. The spirit stone in Lin Feng's hand will be discounted if it is based on the unit of the alien. The spirit stone used by aliens is a standard unit, and the size of one piece is 10 times that of the human side. And there must be a lot of aliens guarding there. Just to try the sword. Point 0. Lin Feng quickly followed the way he came and flew out of the dungeon all the way. After reaching the ground, Lin Feng flew all the way to the north along the top of the woods. He is fast. Along the way, he also encountered several waves of beasts. Lin Feng didn't stop and rushed over. After flying for almost 3 hours, Lin Feng saw a high mountain. There came the fluctuations of the battle. It's Shin Xinyue. 9. Lin Feng noticed. He sneaked in silently. It was discovered that there are quite a few aliens over there. Shin Xinyue should have just shot, and a large number of Sanmu people were killed by her. Meow. Tong Tong pointed in one direction. Lin Feng took a look. There are also many Sanmu people who are coming. Master, leave those people to me. On Tong Tong's head, the sound of Huo Wu, which turned into a flame, sounded. Meow. Tong Tong pointed in another direction. Lin Feng saw that there were also 3-eyed people over there. Come on, let's go. Lin Feng said. After speaking, Lin Feng took the lead. Boom. In the sky, a thunderbolt exploded. Next second, the terrifying thunder fell on the Sanmu people, killing a large number of Sanmu people. At the same time, Huo Wu also suddenly turned into flames and rushed towards the 3-eyed army that came to support. Tong Tong and Xiaoxue also shot. The other side. While Shin Xinyue swung her long sword, she was still reaping the lives of the 3-eyed people. Court death. At this moment, a 3-eyed man of the king level, armed with a sword, killed him and went out to work. The sword in the hands of the 3-eyed king slashed towards Shin Xinyue. The long knife light splits out. Shin Xinyue's long sword swung, and the sword light shot out, smashing the sword light of the king-level 3-eyed man. Then, she killed the king-level 3-eyed man. Xinyue, leave the others to me. Lin Feng's voice sounded. Shin Xinyue looked back and saw Lin Feng. In the eyes, there are some surprises. Obviously, she did not expect that Lin Feng would also come. On the opposite side, the king-level 3-eyed man kept attacking. The long sword in Shin Xinyue's hand changed, and beams of sword light were emitted, and the king-level 3-eyed man quickly fell behind. This time, there is a big reason why she came to rob the mine again. During these days of training with Lin Feng, her sword intent has improved again. Shin Xinyue had killed a king-level 3-eyed man before. After the sword intent improved, her grasp was even greater. In addition, the men she dispatched detected that King Ding Nan had relaxed his vigilance in the past few days, so he came to rob the mine again. Really? After her sword intent was advanced. In front of Shin Xinyue, the king-level 3-eyed man was beaten and retreated. And the other side. After Lin Feng opened the way with a thunderbolt, he also drew his sword and kept shooting. A large number of 3-eyed people were killed by Lin Feng. Near this Lingshire mine, there is also a large-scale 3-eye army. These armies are not composed of ordinary people, but all evolutionary armies. There are many, many thousands. Their strength is not too strong, but these 3-eyed people have a piece of powerful psionic weapon in their hands. These psionic weapons are even more powerful than psionic guns. But before these 3-eyed people had a chance to play, Huo Wu had already turned into a monstrous flame and rushed over. These 3-eyed people attacked the flames one after another. However, there is absolutely no way to hurt Huo Wu. Burn, you big bastards! 35. While Huo Wu shouted, the power of the flame was getting bigger and bigger. On the other side, Xiaoxue kept attacking with the wind blade. Tongtong sometimes used thunder and sometimes charged directly, attacking with claws. The three-eyed person she encountered was not her opponent at all. Seeing that the king-level three-eyed man blocked Xinxinue, immediately, other three-eyed strong men rushed towards Lin Feng and Tongtong. Most of these three-eyed powerhouses use war knives. In the light of their swords, it seems that there is already a sword intent. 8:30. These knife lights are also somewhat different from each other. For example, in some sword lights, there is a faint thunder light. There are also some sword lights, and there is a chill. It's just that their sword intent, compared with Lin Feng's sword intent, is insignificant. I saw Lin Feng passing by at a very fast speed, and the sword in his hand was constantly waving. One after another sword light shot out continuously. It was seen that the sword light of those three-eyed people was not only smashed, but they themselves were also harvested by the sword light and killed quickly. This man is so strong, kill him first. A group of three-eyed people above the 7th rank rushed towards Lin Feng. Good come. Lin Feng took a sharp sword. An extremely bright sword light struck out. Cut the moon. The group of three-eyed people felt the strong expression in the sword light, their expressions changed, and they all shot. However, in the next second, their attacks were all shattered. Lin Feng's sword light fell. In an instant, dozens of three-eyed people were killed. Seeing that Lin Feng was so powerful, a stronger three-eyed man rushed over. Woman, you've been fooled. At this time, in the sky, a figure suddenly rushed out. This figure exudes a powerful aura. Another king class. Xinyue's face changed. 2 kings. King Dingan guessed that you might come over again. I have been waiting for you in the north for a long time. 5. After the second king appeared, he laughed. At the same time, above the sky, more three-eyed people also flew out. These three-eyed people are all above the 7th rank. You go and deal with that kid, this woman is handed over to me. After the second king level finished speaking, he attacked Xinxinue. The other three-eyed people rushed towards Lin Feng. 2 kings. Lin Feng's expression didn't change. Tongtong had faintly noticed this king before. Tongtong is not only physically strong. Her sense of smell and perception of danger are also far higher than others. In the past 2 months, Lin Feng has made great progress. Tongtong's progress will not be less than that of Lin Feng. However, since entering the space crack, Tongtong has rarely shot. The last time I made a move, I only made a move on those 7th order Tianmu people. This time, she noticed that in the north, there was a very high possibility that there was a king rank hiding. The other party is preparing to come to Gloomy Heart Moon. Looking at it now, it really is. The 2 kings killed Xinxinue one after another. Xinxinue's strength has improved a bit after the sword intent has advanced greatly compared to before. Originally, a king level, she was beaten and defeated. After joining a king class, Xinxinue was able to persevere even though she was at a disadvantage. Lin Feng, you go first. Xinxinue shouted. Seeing that there were 2 kings, she was ready to withdraw, so let Lin Feng go first. You stand up first. Lin Feng was addicted. Before practicing against Xinxinue, after all, it was not as enjoyable as actual combat. Now, even if it's not for the Lingshire mine, Lin Feng has to kill more aliens in order to temper his sword intent. Opposite, many 8th order and 9th order aliens have already been killed. Intensive knife light slashed towards Lin Feng. The sword in Lin Feng's hand was constantly waving, and sword lights shot out one after another. While blocking the sword light could also harvest the lives of aliens. Seeing that Lin Feng decided to kill, Xinxinue did not withdraw alone. Instead, he waved the long sword in his hand again and fought against the 2 kings. The strength of the 2nd king level 3-eyed person is obviously stronger, and the combination of the 2 makes Xinxinue extremely passive. In the blink of an eye, Lin Feng killed a large number of Sanmu people. Lin Feng jumped, using his powerful body to deceive himself. The sword in his hand slashed again. There, more than a dozen 8th order 3-eyed clansmen slashed at the same time. The mighty light of the sword rushed towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng did not dodge or split and took on the battle with Zhang Yue. Then I saw that the knife light was directly chopped by Zhang Yue. Next second, The sword light hit the past, and seeing that the situation was not right, the dozen or so 8th Order three-eyed clansmen wanted to get out of the way, but it was too late. At this time, a 9th Order three-eyed clansman appeared and slashed with a sharp knife. "I want to block Lin Feng's sword light." At the same time, a ray shot out from his third eye at the same time, rushing towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's sword light swept away, blocking the ray. The Zhanyue he issued has once again broken the sword light of the 9th Order three-eyed clansman. The 9th Order three-eyed clansman kept waving and finally blocked Lin Feng's powerful sword light, which broke many attacks one after another. But just after blocking, one after another sword light attacked. The face of the 9th Order three-eyed clansman changed greatly. This time, he couldn't stop it. "Ninth rank, there is no threat," Lin Feng whispered. Before, he killed the 9th Order once, because of his absolute control of the battle rhythm and the sharpness of the sword. But now, he can already withstand the attacks of many aliens and kill a 9th Order with relative ease. A 9th rank alien, to him, is no longer a threat. As soon as he killed the 9th Order Sanma clan, Lin Feng pounced on the other Sanma clan again. The three-eyed people were so terrified they fled in all directions. These guys used the terrain to avoid Lin Feng. "He is too strong, leave it to the two generals. We're going to deal with the cat and the fox," some 8th Order three-eyed clansmen shouted while avoiding. These guys are going to leave Lin Feng to the two kings to solve it. However, they soon encountered another wave of three-eyed people. In this wave of three-eyed people, there are also many 7th and 8th Order three-eyed people. "You're not dealing with that cat. Why did you come here?" An 8th Order three-eyed humane. "That cat was too strong. Lord Poppy was killed. Let's deal with that person first." Another 8th Order three-eyed humane. "What? Lord Poppy was killed too?" The face of the previous three-eyed man changed greatly. "Lord Poppy is also a 9th Order powerhouse. Actually, it was killed by a cat." Luckily, after they found out that Lin Feng was too strong, they were still going to kill the cat. "Meow." At this time, Tongtong's voice rang out. "Run away." 35. The alien who was afraid of being killed by Tongtong didn't care about anything and flew straight into the sky. It's just that they flew out and a sword light passed by, killing them. Flee separately. 39. Seeing the cat in front and Lin Feng in the back, the faces of these 8th Order three-eyed people changed drastically. "Don't dare to fly. Lin Feng has already killed him. With the terrain, he can hide for a while. If this takes to the sky, isn't it a living target?" These three-eyed people resolutely scattered and fled. Meow. After escaping a few steps, Tongtong appeared, and when his claws moved, many Sanma people suddenly felt their bodies heavy. The energy in their bodies is running, and they are trying to rush out of here under the change of the force field. But Lin Feng has also killed, and the sword in his hand is constantly waving. In a short time, there were already corpses all over the place. On the other side, the flames are already rising into the sky. Huowu had already started a terrifying fire, killing a large number of Sanmu people. Meow. Together with Xiaoxue, Tongtong chases and kills more aliens. Lin Feng also flew into the sky, killing Xiaowu. There are many more powerful Sanmu people. Soon, Lin Feng reached there, and the sword light swept away, killing some Sanma people who were stronger and unable to catch up with Xiaowu. Not long after, the three-eyed people in this area of the Lingxi mine were led by Lin Feng with Tongtong, Xiaoxue, and Xiaowu, and there was nothing left to kill. In the sky, the king-level battle is still going on. Go! 59. Lin Feng rushed into the sky. There, the two kings kept attacking, killing Xinxingyue. Xinxingyue was 1-2, and some couldn't stand it anymore. Although her strength was stronger than the first king rank, the second king rank was on a par with her. If her sword intent didn't break through, the second king can beat her alone. Not to mention the two together. After Lin Feng rushed into the sky, he saw two kings and Xinxingyue constantly fighting each other. In the sky, the sword light and the sword light passed by constantly. The mountain below was cut off by the sword light or the sword light from time to time, cutting off a large number of trees and rocks. If the strength is not enough, it is not a good thing to go to the battlefield of the king level. No matter what kind of power king level. When fighting, the aftermath is very fatal. For example, in front of Lin Feng, there was a broken blade of light. This kind of knife light has been chopped up a lot, but an 8th hoarder must use all its strength to block it. Lin Feng's sword swung and shattered the light. Then, without saying a word, Lin Feng raised his sword and slashed at a king. Cut the moon. The bright sword light pierced through the space and rushed towards the king level. The king who was fighting Shen Xinyue noticed Lin Feng's sword light, snorted lightly, and clapped one hand. A palm composed of thunderlight was shot like this. It's like swatting mosquitoes. I want to smash Lin Feng's sword light away. To deal with enemies below the king level, such an attack seems careless, but it is very effective. However, in the next second, Lin Feng's sword light smashed through his thunder palm. After receiving this king level, he finally realized that something was wrong. In Lin Feng's sword light, the sword intent was too strong. He had to withdraw the sword and slashed hard, splitting Lin Feng's sword light. What? After splitting apart, the king level three-eyed man let out a light sigh. Because the sword intent in Lin Feng's sword light was really strong enough to make him a little surprised. At this time, he discovered more. Below, there are not many three-eyed people. A small number of three-eyed people are still being chased by Lin Feng, Tong Tong, and Xiaoxue. The king-level three-eyed man was furious. Dare. He slashed at Lin Feng with a sharp knife. Be careful. Shen Xinyue's voice sounded. She also cut out a sword light, splitting the sword light in two. Immediately afterwards, she had to withdraw her sword again to deal with another king-level attack. After the knife light was separated, one deviated from the route, while the other still rushed towards Lin Feng at an unmatched speed. Lin Feng did not evade, mobilized the spiritual power of his entire body, and chopped several swords in a short period of time. I saw that half of the blade light under Lin Feng's attack quickly dissipated and then completely dissipated. As soon as it dissipated, Lin Feng slashed out again with a sword light slashing the moon. That king-level three-eyed man didn't expect Lin Feng to be so powerful. Although Shen Xinyue split his sword light in two, Lin Feng's strength was far beyond the average 9th rank. Such strength on the Sanma clan side is already quasi-king level. No wonder. Lin Feng was able to kill all his men so quickly. Deal with her first, then kill this quasi-king class. The king-level three-eyed man quickly made a decision. Still decided to deal with Shen Xinyue with another stronger king-level three-eyed person. With their cooperation, Shen Xinyue couldn't hold on anymore. At this time, Lin Feng was still attacked by a sword light. This king-level three-eyed man didn't care. While attacking Shen Xinyue, Lin Feng's sword light was shattered with a sword. Although Lin Feng's sword light is sharp, it is only a quasi-king level. It's not enough to kill him. With Lin Feng's share, Shen Xinyue breathed a sigh of relief. She didn't know why Lin Feng didn't withdraw. Even Lin Feng's attack has reached the level of a quasi-king level. But, with Lin Feng, she couldn't kill these two kings. However, the mystery of Lin Feng made Shen Xinyue feel that maybe Lin Feng had other means. So, she still insisted hard. On the other hand, Lin Feng was still using his sword. Boom! Tong Tong also came, and she flew into the sky, constantly attacking with thunder. This attack is even more painless for a king-level three-eyed person. Tong Tong's body is strong, and although thunder is also strong, it has not yet reached the level of the 9th rank. For an energy system attack of less than the 9th level, for the king-level powerhouse, even their body protection energy cannot break through. Tong Tong, don't come forward. 99. Seeing that Tong Tong was about to step forward, Lin Feng shouted. The king is still too strong. Although I don't know what strength Tong Tong has grown to in these 2 months, Lin Feng doesn't want her to take risks. He has enough confidence. He is still attacking. From time to time, the king-level three-eyed man would also slash out a sword light, forcing Shen Xinyue to attack and sever the sword light. Otherwise, Lin Feng might not be able to guard against it. And when Shin Yue is distracted, she will be more passive. Haha, she can't do it anymore. The king-level three-eyed man laughed loudly. Shin Yue couldn't hold on anymore. She was consuming too much. It's your turn now. The king-level three-eyed man was attacked by Lin Feng with sword light for a long time. Although he did not threaten him, he was buzzing like a fly. Also annoying. He didn't notice. At this time, Lin Feng took out a petal. Then, a sharp slash. A mighty sword light slashed out violently. This sword light is more dazzling and terrifying than Lin Feng's sword light. The king-level three-eyed man was still fighting against Shin Yue. Seeing the sword light strike, he casually slashed out another sword light. Don't be bothered. Again. But immediately, he noticed something, and his face changed. As soon as he turned his head, he saw that the mighty sword light that shattered him came over. In that sword light, there is an extremely domineering sword intent. This is. His eyes were horrified. The sword light gave him the feeling that he had faced the most powerful people in the clan at the beginning. For a while, even he had a feeling of being deterred. If he had found out earlier, there would still be room to hide now. But because Lin Feng kept attacking with sword light, he subconsciously thought that this attack was just Lin Feng's attack. When he reacted, it was already a beat slower, and just after regaining control of his body, the sword light had already attacked. At the last moment, he could only block with all his strength. Next second, the sword light drowned him. What is this? On the other side, the stronger king-level three-eyed man hurried to hide. The sword light swept over and rushed towards the distant sky. A huge cloud group in the sky was swept by the sword light and disappeared quietly. The stronger king-level three-eyed man quickly took a look. Then he saw that his companion, another king-level three-eyed man, had disappeared. The body disappears cleanly. Not even the armor on his body was left. Only a broken knife remains, falling from the sky. How is this possible? This king-level three-eyed man was horrified. Although his companion is not as strong as him, how could he be killed by a quasi-king level? At the side, Shin Yue also stared blankly. She didn't expect that Lin Feng didn't know what he used, but he killed a quasi-king class with one blow. However, she seized the moment and attacked again. Escape! Another king-level three-eyed man was very decisive, and after blocking Shin Yue's several attacks, he rushed into the sky. Not even the will to fight. As soon as this guy escapes, there will be no three-eyed people here. All the three-eyed people were killed. Shin Yue let out a long breath. If you fight again, she can't stand it 100%. Lin Feng, hurry up and empty the spirit stone mine. The spirit formation here has been destroyed by me before and cannot be restored in a short time. Shin Yue said quickly. It is good. 2.8 Lin Feng flew down. Shin Yue also released several female evolutionaries from the space. This time she brought a few helpers to move the spirit stone mine. In this area, it seems that there used to be a spirit formation, and Shin Yue said this last time. However, last time she destroyed a lot of spirit formations. There is nothing left. After Lin Feng entered the Lingshire mine, he found that there were still many humans in it. This is the human slaves that King Ding and captured after destroying some dungeons in the past. These aliens will not do things like mine, Shin Yue said. Good guy. I don't even want to do it by myself when it comes to digging spirit stones. Such a thing is enough to explain to a certain extent that aliens are indeed rich. Like that space crack, after the discovery of the spirit stone mine, a large number of kings were dispatched directly to blow up the mountains for you. King-level powerhouses are willing to act as miners. Aliens do not want to do it themselves. These aliens do not know how many resources originally belonged to human beings. Lin Feng cut directly with sword intent and collected a large number of spirit stones. As for those human slaves, they were taken into their space by the evolutionaries brought by Xin Yue, ready to bring them back to the dungeon to enrich the population. Everyone moves quickly. In this way, after more than an hour, the spiritual stone here was almost dug. We have to go. King Ding Nan is probably coming, Xin Yue said. There are very few spirit stone mines here. It is good. Lin Feng agreed. You enter my space and I will take you away, Xin Yue said again. Lin Feng did not refuse, but Xin Yue's speed was faster. So, after Lin Feng let Tong Tong and the others enter the space, they entered Xin Yue's space. Xin Yue quickly flew away from this spirit stone mine. 20 minutes after Xin Yue flew away, in the sky, a peculiarly shaped flying boat suddenly fell. On the flying boat, a large number of Sanma people flew out. King Nan, everyone was killed, and the spirit stone mine was also hollowed out. 35. A three-eyed clansman flew back to the flying boat, tremblingly said, for fear of being angered by King Ding Nan. Anger appeared in the eyes of King Ding Nan, who was standing on the bow of the flying boat, and his hand moved. Below, the top of a hill was shattered by him. This woman, don't let me catch you, send out all the hydralisks. I don't believe it. After so many years of searching, I still can't find her hiding place. 39. King Ding Nan said angrily. In the dungeon, all the spirit stones were released. There are many spirit stones. That spirit stone mine is not particularly big, but it is not small. The spirit stones inside were calculated according to the standards of the 5 cities in the east. There are almost 2 million pieces, including some intermediate spirit stones. In the most central position, there are still some high-level spirit stones. Not much, there should be more than 10 yuan. The spirit stone is in hand. He also returned to the dungeon safely. Next, it is the distribution of spirit stones. Xin Yue looked at Lin Feng. Look at her look. Impressively, he was going to let Lin Feng decide the distribution of these spirit stones. Lin Feng pondered for a while and said, half one person, what do you think? Xin Yue said, I only need 3 achievements. Lin Feng, no, just 1.5. This battle, Xin Yue's contribution is naturally not small. Without her restraining the 2 kings, it would be almost impossible for Lin Feng to use Taoyao's re-engraved petals to kill one. In order to let the king level relax his vigilance, Lin Feng first used Zhang Yue to attack many times, letting the opponent form inertia before using the petals. Otherwise, there is still a certain possibility that the other party will escape. Moreover, more than 10 days ago, Xin Yue also destroyed the spiritual formation there. Seeing Lin Feng insist, Xin Yue said nothing. The spirit stones were distributed quickly. Lin Feng just spent millions of low-level spirit stones to upgrade the 4th-level space, and now he has replenished it. However, the intermediate and high-level spiritual stones could not be supplemented. City Lord, great, so many spirit stones. 99. The evolutionaries under Xin Yue were all extremely happy. This is the first time they have obtained so many spirit stones. Thanks. Xin Yue came over and sincerely thanked Lin Feng. Tonight, I want to invite you to dinner, okay? Xin Yue said again. Have a meal? Lin Feng agreed. After Xin Yue obtained the spirit stones, she distributed these spirit stones to many of her subordinates. Lin Feng moved all the spirit stones back to the portable space. Now, in his space, the spiritual energy is incomparably full, and Jane 16 has always been a paradise. Lingshire piled up into mountains. These spirit stones, Lin Feng did not cut them apart. All are reserved for their own use, and when needed, they can be cut or crushed. Tongtong's strength has also reached the 9th level. Lin Feng touched Tongtong and thought, in this battle, Tongtong's performance was also very eye-catching. She also killed a 9th order three-eyed man. Lin Feng killed several. Xiaoxue's strength is slightly worse than Tongtong's, but she should be approaching the 9th rank. Meow. Tongtong took the small head and rubbed against Lin Feng. As for Huo Wu, it is not a big problem to deal with the 7th order, and it is also possible to deal with the 8th order, but it may not be able to burn the opponent. Fire Dance is more suitable for large-scale battlefields. It is estimated that it is still a bit difficult to deal with the strong. After she evolves further, it should be stronger. Brother, how's the effect of petals? Tao Yao is here. This battle was also thanks to Tao Yao's re-engraved petals. Lin Feng touched her little head. The power is good, Tao Yao. Then I will go to re-engraving and strive to re-engrave a more powerful one. 5. Tao Yao is very happy. After taking stock of the harvest this time, Lin Feng took out a book. Now his strength has reached the 9th order. With the sword intent, the actual combat power exerted, in the 9th rank, seems to have a feeling of invincibility of the same rank. Next, just thinking about hitting the 10th order. After awakening, there are 10 levels. Tier 10 is king. The 10th rank, that is, the king rank. Generally speaking, in a city, the 6th rank is considered good, and the 8th and 9th ranks are considered strong. But the key to a city's ability to gain a foothold lies in the king level. Without the king level, it is impossible to stand on the ground. The book Lin Feng took out was given by City Lord Su. In this book, there are some introductions about the king level. Lin Feng hadn't watched it before, because it is still far from the king level. Look, it doesn't work. It might even interfere with growth. Soon, Lin Feng finished reading the contents of this book. The book is not thick, and it does not record any cultivation methods or the like. The main thing is the introduction. Tier 10 is king. The 10th order is also a key point. Generally, when you reach the 9th order, your strength is already quite powerful. The 9th order, even in Sioux City, is not particularly large. Generally, the evolutionary army under the command of City Lord Su is led by the 9th order. As for the king level, it is responsible for fighting against the king level among the aliens. Only the king level can fight against the king level. This time, the reason why Lin Feng was able to kill a king was not his own power, but the petals that Tao re-engraved. The sword light in the petals, but on the broken sword, is that of the strongest human being. Therefore, it is equivalent to using the sword light of the strongest to kill the king. Now Tao Yao, naturally, there is no way to completely reproduce the sword light of that supreme powerhouse. Otherwise, the power is so much more than that. The reason why the king level is strong is because, at the king level, the source of its own power has already been opened. Generally speaking, even a 9th order evolutionary cannot support the battle for too long. The power of the king rank is not only in the power of the attack, but also in the ability to support a much longer battle than the 9th rank. And from the 9th rank, I want to break through the 10th rank and become a king. It is necessary to break through the shackles within the body and break through an invisible lock in the body, so that the body can communicate with the world and be fully strengthened. Therefore, all king-level evolvers, even those with weak energy systems, will greatly increase their physical strength after they reach the king level. Of course, it is still incomparable with power-type or martial-type evolutionaries. Breaking through the king level is not easy. Some 9th orders, even if their strength is reached, but because they can't break through the invisible lock, they can't break through for a long time, and they have been stuck in the 9th order. In Lin Feng's view, it shouldn't be that complicated if he wants to break through the king level. As long as my sword intent reaches the annihilation level, I integrate it and create another sword move, I can definitely break through the king level with this. 35. Lin Feng thought. Specifically how? Need sword intent to reach the extinction level and then talk about it. His situation was different from others. Through his unprecedented space, Lin Feng can use the sword intent of the supreme power to transform his own sword intent after solidifying the sword intent of the supreme power. Then, push back again. Break through the king level again. This speed will be much faster than others. The difficulty is also much less. And the combat power is also not weak. Therefore, after having some understanding of the realm of the king level, Lin Feng continued to comprehend the sword intent of the strongest and prepared to make his sword intent a step further. In this way, after comprehending a few hours, Lin Feng looked at the time. It was night. Xin Xinyue had invited him to dinner. It is estimated that he is ready to thank Lin Feng. After all, Lin Feng's role in winning the Spirit Stone Mine today is very important. Then, Lin Feng left the space and came to Xin Xinyue's palace. Xin Xinyue was not here. Soon, Xin Xinyue appeared and made a request. She was going to entertain Lin Feng in the space. Lin Feng walked in. Her space area is not small. It seems that she may also have area talent, divided into some areas. Last time, after Lin Feng entered, the area where that kind of thing happened with her was in the center. This time, Xin Xinyue held a banquet near that pavilion again. Inside, there was no one else, only Lin Feng and her. After sitting down, Lin Feng's eyes subconsciously looked in one direction. More than 10 days ago, it was there that Lin Feng and Xin Xinyue. Perhaps he noticed Lin Feng's gaze. Xin Xinyue's face was slightly red. She gave Lin Feng a meal. Lin Feng withdrew his gaze and started eating silently. Xin Xinyue didn't say much. Both of them ate in silence. The atmosphere became a little silent for a while. King Ding Nan will definitely be furious this time. In the next period of time, I'm going to do some sublime cultivation. After the sword will improve, I have some insights. Maybe I can break through the peak of 1 star, 5. Perhaps because she felt too quiet, Xin Xinyue spoke up. 1 star peak? Lin Feng was a little curious. What are the 2 king levels today? Xin Xinyue said, one is in the middle stage of 1 star and the other is in the late stage of 1 star. The king level I killed more than 10 days ago was in the early stage of 1 star. Lin Feng understood. Xin Xinyue was at the level of a 1 star king. But the same 1 star king level, the gap is also very large. More than 10 days ago, when Lin Feng met Xin Xinyue, she must have gone to rob a mine. Her strength at that time should be in the middle of 1 star. A king at the early stage of 1 star was killed by her. As a result, she touched the spirit formation set up by King Ding Nan. She destroyed the spirit array, but she didn't expect that there was a poisonous array in King Ding Nan's spirit array, which caused her to be poisoned. As a result, they were chased by the 8th Order and 9th Order three-eyed people near the Lingshire mine who had not been killed. After she came back, because she practiced swords with Lin Feng, her swordsmanship improved greatly, and her strength also improved greatly, reaching the late stage of 1 star. So, I went to rob mine again. As a result, this time King Ding Nan arranged 2 kings to wait for her. King Ding Nan probably did not expect that Xin Xinyue's strength not only did not decrease, but instead increased. That said, a mid-stage 1 star plus a late 1 star king level should be appropriate to deal with Xin Xinyue. As a result, another Lin Feng appeared. Killed a king class and scared one away. What level is King Ding Nan? Lin Feng asked again. Xin Xinyue said, I don't know, I haven't played against each other. I estimate it is at least 2 stars, and it may be stronger. At least 2 stars. There is still a huge gap between the kings. Like Xin Xinyue, she was in the middle stage of 1 star before, but she forcibly killed a king in the early stage of 1 star. Of course, if it is another king level, it is not necessarily so easy to kill. Xin Xinyue herself is a sharp sword-type evolutionary, and her cultivation talent is probably amazingly high. All her methods were tempered in countless life-and-death battles. Lin Feng thought for a while and then asked, among the Sanma clan, are there many kings like King Ding Nan? 35. Xin Xinyue nodded. It should be quite a lot. The Sanma clan is very powerful. The king of the Sanma clan who was killed before said that their Sanma clan seems to have completed an overall evolution, and the second overall evolution, it's halfway through. An overall evolution. The second overall evolution is still halfway through. Shin Xinyue's words caught Lin Feng's attention. In the words of City Lord Su, the 3 alien races faced by the 5 cities in the east have completed an evolution as a whole. The whole group has completed an evolution, and the strength of the entire ethnic group has generally increased. Even babies are inherently stronger than human babies. Throwing a human baby into the ice and snow without doing anything to keep it warm will probably freeze to death in no time. But after an overall evolution, throwing the baby into the ice cave, picking it up an hour later, may still be able to rescue it. This 3-eyed clan has also completed an overall evolution. Not only that, their second overall evolution is halfway through. Look at it this way. The overall strength of this 3-eyed clan might be stronger than the 3 alien races faced by the 5 eastern cities. The overall strength of these aliens can be seen from the number of times they have evolved as a whole. Lin Feng thought. The overall evolution should be the overall strength. But in a group, the strongest is also very important. However, in general, if it is an alien race that has completed more overall evolutions, the strongest in their race will definitely not be weak. 8:30. This conversation with Shin Xinyue made Lin Feng know more about alien races. Finally, the meal was over. Shin Xinyue silently took away all the bowls and chopsticks and sent them to the room. Then, she brought another plate of fruit. Lin Feng saw that it was a spirit fruit. He ate a piece. This spirit fruit is good. It can also promote digestion and freshen breath. Next, I'm going to retreat for a while. Shin Xinyue sat opposite Lin Feng and talked about her plan. Lin Feng is also preparing to retreat. That is to say, hid and cultivate in space for a period of time. My space has 5-star sword-type talent and acceleration talent. Would you like to come together? 99. Shin Xinyue said. 5-star sword talent and acceleration talent? Shin Xinyue's space is impressively good. Although, not as good as Lin Feng's space. But her space is the most suitable space for her to practice. No wonder, she looks young, but she has such outstanding strength in the sword department. This time she invited Lin Feng to dinner, and she probably wanted to invite Lin Feng into her space to practice. Lin Feng pondered for a while and said, "No need, thank you. My space also has sword-type talent." Shin Xinyue let out an "oh," her expression inexplicably lost. "If you want to leave, just tell Xiaolan and the others," Shin Xinyue said again. Lin Feng shook his head. "I won't leave for the time being." 35. Lin Feng will not leave until the king level. After reaching the king level, you should also try to see if you can explore the space crack underwater in the underground lake. Hearing Lin Feng's words, the disappointment on Shin Xinyue's face disappeared again. However, she didn't know what to say. The atmosphere in the pavilion became a little quiet again. She looked in one direction, not knowing what she was thinking. Lin Feng also followed her gaze subconsciously. Coincidentally, Shin Xinyue's gaze was right on the place where the incident happened to them. Although more than 10 days have passed, Shin Xinyue seemed to be looking there unintentionally, and she didn't think in that direction. However, when she glanced at Lin Feng again, she found that Lin Feng was also watching. Just thought. His face suddenly turned red. His demeanor was also a little unnatural. Lin Feng shook his head and expelled those pictures. After all, that time was an accident. Now that Shin Xinyue is well, it is impossible to find her again. So, Lin Feng is ready to leave. But as soon as he turned his head, he saw Shin Xinyue's flushed face. Then, they met Shin Xinyue's eyes. What? For some reason, he may feel that his secret has been discovered. Shin Xinyue whispered, "Ah." Shin Xinyue's "ah" sounded like a fuse. Looking from a powerful king-level powerhouse, she became Shin Xinyue, who looked like a timid little white rabbit. The atmosphere in the space suddenly changed a bit. Then, a few hours later, Lin Feng returned to his own space. He silently cultivated again. This time, he is going to dive into cultivation for a longer time to see if he can let his sword intent enter the extinction level. In the previous battle with the king-level 3-eyed man, Lin Feng's harvest was still not small. In the battle of life and death, the gain is greater than the simple discussion. Plus now the space has risen to level 4. Lin Feng has enough confidence. can make sword intent enter the annihilation level in one fell swoop. In this way, Lin Feng began to cultivate in the space again. Time passed little by little. In the space, Tong Tong and Xiaoxue are constantly improving themselves every day. Tao is still re-engraving the sword light. But he was also thinking about some new methods. Xiangwei likes to be with Tong Tong and the others. Lin Feng eats spirit fruit when he is hungry. Sleep when you are tired. At other times, he was completely immersed in the comprehension of sword intent. So, time goes on and on. Soon, Lin Feng had been cultivating in the space for a week. This week, Lin Feng has been consuming spirit stones continuously to enhance the power in his body. A week has passed, and Lin Feng has gained a lot. Still, it's not quite there. He continued to feel it. It's been almost 2 months. At this time, in a place extremely far away from the underground city, Ling Qingqiu stood at the height of Su City, looked down and thought silently. Now, it has been almost 2 months since Lin Feng used the Du Zhuangxing to leave. For more than a month, Lin Feng has not heard from him. Ling Qingqiu didn't know where Lin Feng went. City Lord Su sent some people to look around, but they didn't find it at all. Farther away, there are also king-level evolutionaries who are good at lurking to find, but they are not found. City Lord Su guessed that Lin Feng might have been transferred to a very distant place by Douchuan Xingjiufu. With Lin Feng's strength, even in the territory of aliens, as long as you are careful, you will be fine. City Lord Su said to Lung Qingqiu. Qingqiu. 99. At this time, a voice sounded. Ling Qingqiu looked back and saw that it was her sister Ling Xia. Thinking about him again? Cold Summer Road. Ling Qingqiu shook his head. No. Ling Xia smiled. I still don't know your thoughts. Let's go around the city. You forgot that my father asked us to walk around the city every month, so as to understand the situation of the whole city from the bottom to the top. All know well. Ling Qingqiu followed Ling Xia on the streets of the city. Su City is still bustling with people coming and going. Let me tell you, at that time Lin Feng cut an alien genius into 2 halves with 1 sword. While walking, Ling Qingqiu heard that in a park, an old man was talking about Lin Feng. More than a month this time. Lin Feng's name has already spread throughout the 5 eastern cities. After the Battle of Space Cracks, many geniuses in the 5 eastern cities spread the word about Lin Feng's performance in the genius battle and Lin Feng's amazing strength. In addition, in the Space Crack, Lin Feng's performance is too dazzling. Almost alone, he killed many geniuses of aliens. After the situation of that war was spread. Nature. Let Lin Feng's name be well known by many people in the 5 eastern cities. Not to mention a household name. But now Lin Feng is already very famous in the 5 eastern cities. And in Su City, Lin Feng is the most famous. Famous enough, even an old man in the park knows Lin Feng's name. During the Battle of Space Cracks, some videos shot by some people have also spread. Attracted many people to watch. At the same time, in the defense line of Su City, many people recognized Lin Feng. Thereby, in the first battle of the Su City defense line, Tong Tong, who was on fire, also got in touch with Lin Feng. Some people also pulled out the video of Lin Feng in the defense competition. It can be said, Lin Feng's name in Su City is already too popular. Even after more than a month, some people can still be heard talking about Lin Feng from time to time on the streets of Sucheng. In Su City, Lin Feng seems to have become a legendary figure. It has become the envy of many young evolutionaries. Qingqiu, Lin Feng is really famous. He will definitely come back. Cold Summer to Cold Autumn Road. She and Lin Feng have only met a few times. But the impression of Lin Feng is quite profound. Ling Qingqiu let out an and silently followed behind Ling Xia. Time flies. In the space, Tao handed Lin Feng another petal. Brother, with this petal, I feel that I can threaten a more powerful king. Tao Yao said. More powerful king class. Lin Feng used the second petal given by Tao Yao to kill the king-level 3-eyed man. The more powerful third petal, Lin Feng has not used it yet. This petal can threaten a more powerful king. There shouldn't be a problem with the 1-star peak king level, but the 2-star one doesn't know if it will work. Lin Feng thought. Tao Yao, well done. Lin Feng said. Brother, I have some insights recently. Next time I will try it with 10 high-level spiritual stones. Tao said again. Good. 35. Lin Feng agreed. There are a lot of 10 high-level spirit stones. The amount of spiritual energy in a high-level spiritual stone is equivalent to 10,000 low-level spiritual stones. Although there are still millions of low-level spirit stones in Lin Feng's hands. But the problem is, these low-level spirit stones cannot be converted into high-level spirit stones. In terms of value, a high-level spiritual stone, 20,000, or even 30,000 to 50,000 low-level spiritual stones can't compare. The spirit inside is so pure. However, with 10 high-level spirit stones, it is possible to have a means to threaten the 2-star king level. That's worth it too. Tao went to try it. Lin Feng continued to practice diving. Occasionally, he will go out to sea. The dungeon is business as usual. The entire dungeon has been closed, that is, no one is going in or out. Avoid being sent by King Ding and to find the entrance. It seemed that Xin Xinyue was still in retreat. Did not come out. In this way, Lin Feng continued to practice. Before I knew it, another month had passed. After this month passed, Lin Feng opened his eyes. In the eyes, full of sword intent. He slashed out with a sharp sword. An extremely terrifying sword intent attacked, slashing the jelly-shaped space wall. Destroyed, Lin Feng whispered. After more than a month of diving, it was finally in vain. Under the constant comprehension, with the help of the better bonus of the 4th level space, Lin Feng's sword intent has successfully broken through. From the peak of the transformation level to the extinction level in one fell swoop. Destruction's sword intent. Compared with the sword intent at the peak of the transformation level, it has already undergone earth-shaking changes. It can be said, now it is a king level in front of Lin Feng. Just relying on the sword intent of destroying the class, Lin Feng will go down with one sword, and this king class will definitely not be able to stop it. And as sword intent came to the annihilation level, Lin Feng's combat power, from the previous quasi-king level, came to the king level combat power in one fell swoop. Certainly. This is just combat power, not actual realm. But that's what's scary. Because Lin Feng's realm has not yet reached the king level, his combat power is the standard king level. When others fight against Lin Feng, they will not pay much attention subconsciously. After all, it is the consensus that only the king can fight against the king. At that time, Lin Feng was caught off guard with a sword. That would be fatal. Seeing sword intent breaking through the extinction level, Lin Feng was also full of joy. He stood up. Meow. 99. Tongtong and Xiaoxuan noticed Lin Feng's change and were happy for Lin Feng's breakthrough. Brother, here it is. Along with Lin Feng's sword intent breaking through the extinction level, there is also good news. Tao gave Lin Feng a few more petals. 3 pieces in total. There are 2 petals, both of which are similar to the 4th petal that Tao gave to Lin Feng. There is also a piece of sword light that Tao used a full 10 high-level spirit stones to reproduce. This sword light gives Lin Feng the feeling. It is very likely that it can threaten the king level of the 2nd star. Lin Feng was not excited. Instead, put it away. This petal will be Lin Feng's biggest trump card at this stage. Tao Yao, go and make another one. Lin Feng also gave Tao Yao 10 high-grade spirit stones. He is now cultivating, and it is enough to use the intermediate spirit stone. Although the effect of high-level spirit stones is better, Lin Feng intends to use it after reaching the king level. There are still dozens of his high-level spiritual stones after upgrading the space. Let Tao re-engraved it again, and at a critical time, it will be able to play a role. Okay, brother. Tao went to re-engraving again. After Lin Feng consolidated his sword intent in the space, he took a look at the changes in the space. In the entire space, spirit plants are everywhere. Even in the small lake in the south, those lotus flowers have all turned into spiritual plants. There are also a large number of lotus flowers born with spiritual consciousness and become a kind of small flower fairy. The lotus seeds of the lotus, after eating, also have a very good effect on the enhancement of the power of the water system. This month, although Lin Feng is mainly comprehending sword intent. However, the growth of Lin Feng's other powers is also rapid. After watching the changes in the space, Lin Feng walked out of the space. Xinxingyue hasn't seen it yet. Lin Feng went to the dungeon and decided to do some activities. The population of the entire underground city is only a few 100,000 people. Not too much, not too little. Most of them are ordinary people. There are still thousands of evolutionaries. The ratio of evolutionary people to ordinary people is not comparable to that of Sioux City. The ratio of Sioux City is about to reach 1/10. 1 in 10 people is an evolver. Of course, the vast majority of people are awakening grades. But it is also an evolutionary. In Xinxingyue's underground city, this ratio is only about 2 or 3%. However, the evolutionaries above the 6th rank that she has cultivated are not too few. There are still dozens. After watching for a while, Lin Feng saw that there were evolutionaries hurriedly flying in the sky. Lin Feng saw that it was one of Xinxingyue's subordinates, named Yunemo. Yunma, what's wrong? Lin Feng flew up. There is another water monster, and I have to report to the city lord. Yunemo said. Another water monster? Lin Feng is interested. According to Lin Feng's speculation, the crack in the space leading to the underground lake, when the entrance was opened, was also the time when the water monster appeared. If you want to enter that space crack, it is estimated that it is only possible when the water monster has just emerged. Lin Feng flew towards the underground lake. Soon, he flew to the area of the underground lake. Now he, with the sword intent of destroying, can already be regarded as a king-level combat power. It is possible to explore that space crack. Not sure what good stuff will be in there. Not long after, Lin Feng flew into the underground lake. After flying over, Lin Feng found that the water monsters that emerged from the underground lake this time were not targeting Xinxingyue's dungeon, but the other direction. He flew over. After flying over, Lin Feng saw that over there, the evolutionaries were fighting the water monsters that came out. In the sky, you can still see the man in black. This guy is also a king and should be an evolutionary of the energy system. Moreover, it looks a bit like a dark evolutionary. Because of the attack he found, it was black. It was a strange fish who was fighting against him. This strange fish set off a huge wave and headed towards the entrance of the dungeon. After Lin Feng glanced at it, he did not join the battle, but plunged into the water. He is also a water system evolver. With the lotus seeds of Baihe, Lin Feng's attainments in the water system are not low. In the water, Lin Feng felt like a duck to water. He felt that the entrance to the space crack should be closed soon. Can't waste time. As soon as he entered the water, Lin Feng saw that a large number of strange fish rushed out of the water. He did not draw his sword, but used his finger as a sword to kill the strange fish one after another. In this way, Lin Feng rushed all the way down. In a short time, it rushed to the bottom of the lake. The bottom center of the lake is quite deep. As soon as he got to the bottom of the lake, Lin Feng saw that the entrance of a crack was closing quickly. It really is a space crack. Lin Feng was overjoyed. After thinking for a while, Lin Feng took out a sword, left some messages on it with mental power, and flicked the sword in the direction of Duecheng. Then, Lin Feng slammed into the space crack. The entrance to this space crack should be opened more than once a month. If you can enter it and open it from the inside, it will naturally be easier. The premise is to find a way to open it. How to open the space crack, Lin Feng did not know. The 2 space cracks he entered before were opened by others, and he only entered. However, even if there is no way to open it, Lin Feng will be able to come out after the entrance is opened again after at most 1 month. After Lin Feng entered the space crack, the sword quickly rushed out of the water and flew towards the moon city. Then, he firmly nailed it to the rock at the entrance of Yueching to the underground lake. There. Shen Xinyue, who got the news, just flew out. Seeing Lin Feng's sword, Shen Xinyue flew back, stretched out her hand, and Lin Feng's sword was drawn into her hand. Then, she read the message that Lin Feng left on the sword. Space cracks. Shen Xinyue thought for a while and flew to the lake. However, by the time she reached the bottom of the lake, the entrance to the space crack had already been closed. She flew out again. At this time, the man in black had already dealt with the strange fish. This time the water monster is coming for us, so I won't bother City Lord Shin. The man in black thought that Shen Xinyue was here to grab the monster, said. Although these water monsters are a bit difficult to deal with, their meat is very beneficial to the evolutionary. Good money. In fact, this underground lake is also the key to the rise of the nearby dungeon. This is also the reason why the evolutionists in the underground lakes, the energy system, are mostly water systems. And the sword type, the sword intent, also has the characteristics of the water type. Shen Xinyue ignored the man in black and flew back to the lake. Yunma, once Lin Feng comes out, report to me immediately. 35. Shen Xinyue said. Yes, the mayor. Yunemo said. Shen Xinyue was right by the lake and entered the space so that she could come out at any time to check the situation of the lake. Is this space crack really all water? At this time, in the space crack, Lin Feng looked around. It's really all water. Lots of water. And there is no light. It looks like a deep-sea bottom. The water pressure around here is also terrifyingly strong. This kind of water pressure, the general evolutionary can't bear it. The water pressure is amazing. Lin Feng's body is strong, and he is also a water evolutionist, but he has to bear it. There are water monsters. Around, a water monster found Lin Feng and rushed over. Although the surrounding is dark, Lin Feng's mental power is not weak, and his detection of the surrounding is very clear. Lin Feng's expression didn't change, and with a flick of his finger, a string of arcs was bounced out by Lin Feng. The water monster was killed immediately. The arc also illuminated this underwater spot. Around, a large number of water monsters were alarmed. I'm going so much. There are many water monsters, all kinds. Said to be water monsters, but they're actually some mutant fish. Some mutant shrimps are bigger than humans. There are also some mutant fish, crabs and the like. A large number of water monsters came towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng directly threw the ball lightning. Zizi. Immediately, those water monsters were turned over by electricity. Although water also conducts electricity, don't even think about electricity to Lin Feng himself. Lin Feng took the opportunity to rush up. He wanted to get out of the water first. He doesn't believe that this space crack can't be all water, right? Lift. Lin Feng rushed up quickly. Along the way, there are still many water monsters encountered. There are too many mutant fish here. Ordinary mutant fish are not strong, but there are also many powerful mutant fish. Some mutant fish are also terribly fast. Whoosh! A lightning mutant fish rushed towards Lin Feng. Good guy. Lightning fish. The speed of this guy is too fast. Underwater, the speed of this fish has exceeded the speed of sound. The strength of this guy is definitely not low. Seeing this lightning fish strike, Lin Feng used his finger as a sword and chopped it. Although the lightning fish is strong, it seems a little stupid. Don't know how to avoid. The speed of Lin Feng's extermination sword intent is boundless. When the lightning fish discovered it, Lin Feng's extermination sword intent had already passed over it. This lightning fish was directly divided into two. The two halves of the body did not stop and were still rushing forward. It's just getting slower. When passing by Lin Feng, he was caught by Lin Feng. Killed by the sword intent of destruction, the blood of this lightning fish could not come out. Lin Feng only used sword intent, not sword moves. Otherwise, the lightning fish would most likely disappear directly. What is this? Lin Feng found a bead lingering with thunder light from half the body of the lightning fish. He took the bead out. Fish beads, it should be something similar to Thunderheart. 35. Soon, Lin Feng found out. This thing, only powerful mutant animals have a certain chance of appearing. There are none on the beasts. Due to the invasion of aliens, this world is full of beasts kept by aliens. The number of mutant animals in the wild has been greatly reduced. Powerful mutant animals, the numbers are also small. There is not much aura in the air itself. In addition, the beasts wandered around, eating some spiritual plants that had finally mutated. Some mutant animals will also be attacked by these beasts. There are not many mutant animals that can grow up. In some space cracks, there may be stronger mutant animals. Lin Feng put away the bead. Such beads, if eaten by the Thunder System evolutionary, will have a good effect. The strength of this lightning fish, in Lin Feng's perception, should be around the 7th to 8th order. Lin Feng continued to rush up. Along the way, keep killing the incoming water monsters. Since Lin Feng did not use thunder, it did not attract the attention of the water monsters in a large area. After another distance, Lin Feng's mental power sensed a particularly huge water monster. This water monster, with its mouth open, was eating the mutant fish. It looks like this guy is like a mutated shark, just bigger than the shark. The average shark is only a few meters long. This guy is even longer than a whale, reaching dozens of meters. The speed is also exceptionally fast. The mutant shark found Lin Feng and rushed over with a mouth full of fangs. Lin Feng shot out an electric arc, and the arc fell on the mutant shark, but failed to kill the guy. On its outer shell, the thick layer of skin has a fairly good defense against energy-type attacks. The strength of this mutant shark is probably not weaker than the 8th rank. Otherwise, it is impossible for Lin Feng's 8th order peak lightning power to kill it. Good guy, the water monster in this space crack is really powerful. Lin Feng has only come in for a while, and he doesn't have much scope of activities. He was just rushing to the surface, and he actually encountered two water monsters above the 7th or 8th order. The mutant shark charged aggressively. Only. Next second. Invisible sword intent swept across its body. This behemoth, which is comparable to a hill, was cut in half by Lin Feng, just like 830. Lin Feng stuffed the body of the mutant shark into the space. The corpse of this mutant shark is a good tonic for the evolutionary. Should not be wasted. After his space was upgraded to level 4, there was another open area around him. Those areas are still empty. Lin Feng has no time or energy to plan yet. Just enough to store these mutant fish killed in this space rift. Lin Feng continued to go up, killing a lot of mutant fish along the way. As long as it is a mutant fish with stronger strength, Lin Feng will put away the corpse of the mutant fish. Then, he selected an area and set stillness. After these mutant fish are thrown in, none of them will rot. In this way, a few minutes later, Lin Feng saw the sun. Almost to the surface. Lin Feng rushed to speed up, and finally, Lin Feng rushed out of the water. It's really deep, Lin Feng thought. After rushing out of the water, Lin Feng flew high into the air. Then, he saw the endless sea. Really sea. The sun shines down. In the cracks in space, sunlight can shine down. Now, it should be noon. The sun is quite strong. According to Lin Feng's understanding, in the space crack, if you fly into the sky, you can't fly out. Ordinary space cracks, if you don't find the entrance and exit, you can't get in or get out. Of course, if your strength is strong enough to break through the cracks in space, then you can enter and exit freely. The strength of a king should not be enough. To the power level, maybe. Because Lin Feng thought, the broken sword that fell into the crack of space after being cut off by the sword light of the strongest. Ordinary swords, when dropped, there is a space crack just below. As long as the space crack is closed, it can't fall in at all. Aura is still sufficient. 95. Lin Feng felt the aura in the air, and it was quite sufficient. It is much more abundant than the spiritual energy on Earth. Let's see how big this place is and if there is anything else. Lin Feng thought. He let Tong Tong and Xiao Xue out again. Meow. After Tong Tong came out, he rubbed against Lin Feng. Xiao Xue stood in the air. She will fly too. From a snow-white little fox became a flying snow-white fox. Tong Tong seems to be able to fly too, turning into a flying cat. Tong Tong, can you smell something? Lin Feng asked. Meow. Tong Tong's little nose sniffed. She is very sensitive to the direction of the flow of aura. Meow. 35. After taking a sniff, Tong Tong pointed downwards. In the water? Lin Feng understood what Tong Tong meant. I am afraid. In this space crack, if there is anything good, that good stuff should be in the water. However, Tong Tong is not sure where exactly. She only knew that it should be in the water. The vast amount of water isolated Tong Tong's induction. Let's go, Tong Tong, let's see how big this place is. Lin Feng said. After speaking, he hugged Tong Tong Xiao Xue and quickly flew in one direction. First figure out the size of this space crack. Now Lin Feng is flying very fast. Like a flash of lightning. The speed has reached hundreds of kilometers per hour. It's not over yet? After Lin Feng flew all the way for more than 3 hours, he still didn't fly to the end. The length of this space crack is probably thousands of kilometers. Below, there is still the boundless ocean, Baisai. There is no such thing as an island. Lin Feng continued to fly. Another hour of flying. Finally, Lin Feng flew to the end. The end is invisible. After flying to the end, you can feel a layer of transparent space wall, blocking the space crack from the outside world. This space wall is quite different from the space wall of the portable space. The space wall of the portable space, according to the current understanding, cannot be destroyed. But the space wall of the space crack, if you are strong enough to attack from the inside, you should be able to destroy it. There's more time anyway. Lin Feng flew along the space wall of the space crack again. In this way, it took several more hours, and it was night. Lin Feng finally figured out the size of this space crack. This space crack is really big. Inside, it is roughly a circle. The diameter of this circle has reached more than 1,000 kilometers. What is this concept? The area of this space crack has already exceeded 1 million square kilometers. In Lin Feng's estimation, it should be more than 2 million square kilometers. Compared with the world before Lin Feng crossed, the area of this space crack is equivalent to more than 10 central and eastern provinces. Close to a quarter of the eastern area. Of course, the Earth and stars in this world have become unknown, and the East has become unknown, and now there is not much comparability. The area of this space crack is not much smaller than the space crack that the 5 eastern cities competed for with the aliens. The space crack that Lin Feng entered for the first time could not be compared with this space crack. That space crack, the length is only 200 or 300 kilometers. However, this space rift is completely filled with ocean. Except for the ocean below, no land is visible at all. The only land is a small island found by Lin Feng on the edge. This small island is not small, with an area of dozens of square kilometers. The aura on the island is also quite sufficient, and there are some highly aggressive mutant monkeys. Since these monkeys have no natural predators, they are flooding the island. They were killed by Tong Tong for attacking Lin Feng. Then the fire was turned into ashes by Huowu. The ashes were blown away by Xiaoxue with the wind. There is nothing too good on the island, but the environment is good. Should be in the water, Lin Feng thought. From the powerful mutant fish everywhere in the water, it can be seen that the good things should be in the water. So many mutant fish. There must be spirit stone mines in the water. Otherwise, it is impossible for these mutant fish to mutate and grow up. In the seawater, Lin Feng felt a lot of spiritual energy. Lin Feng explored along the island and found that the water around the island is shallow. The average depth is only a few tens of meters. Since the small island is on the edge of the space crack, there are no powerful mutant fish coming over. The further you go to the middle of the space crack, the deeper the seawater is. I don't know how the space crack was formed. How did he get to the ground? No, it may not be underground, because the existence of the space crack itself cannot be regarded as common sense. Moreover, some spatial cracks have multiple entrances and exits. At the underground lake, there may just be an entrance and exit. The actual location of this spatial crack cannot be simply viewed from the three-dimensional concept of up, down, left, right, and front. Rest now and continue tomorrow. Seeing that it was getting dark, Lin Feng entered the space on the island. After a few hours of sleep in the space, just after 12 o'clock, a new day of acceleration begins. After the acceleration was turned on, Lin Feng continued to consolidate his sword intent in the space. At the same time, he also used that lightning fish bead. This bead works well. It contains a strong element of thunder and lightning. After being absorbed by Lin Feng, it slightly enhanced his power in the thunder element. After the space has risen to level 4, the acceleration time has naturally increased again. Level 1 5-star acceleration talent 10 times. Level 2 20 times. Level 3 30 times. Level 4 is naturally 40 times. So, now the free 5 hours after the acceleration, it is 200 hours. Lin Feng also added 2 more hours to spend Lingshi, another 80 hours. These 7 hours become 280 hours. It's been almost 12 days. The consumption of using spirit stones to speed up naturally also increased. Before, it was 100 spirit stones for the first hour and 300 for the second hour. Now, 100 spirit stones in the first hour, 400 in the second hour. It seemed that it was only 100 yuan more, but in the third hour it was terrifying and jumped directly to 1,600 yuan. So, 2 hours is enough, any more is not necessary. Although Lin Feng has a lot of spiritual stones, they can't be wasted. After the acceleration time in the space passed, Lin Feng walked out of the space, just after 7 o'clock in the morning. The sky is already bright. Start looking today, Lin Feng thought. Master, leave it to me. Baihe's voice sounded. Yes, this time, Lin Feng brought Baihe out. Tong Tong is not good at exploring underwater. However, there are people who are good at it. Hashtag. There are a lot of water monsters in the water. Baihe, you have to be careful and don't get too far away from me. 35. Lin Feng said. Master, don't worry, I have feelings for the master. White Lotus Road. She left a lotus on Lin Feng, through which she could sense Lin Feng. After such a long time, Baihe's strength has become quite strong. The specific strength Lin Feng does not know yet, but it should not be lower than the 7th rank. It is more likely to reach the 8th order. And her abilities are all related to water. Underwater, she can exert stronger strength. Don't worry too much. In addition, the true spirit talent in the space is also a layer of insurance. If something happens, it is equivalent to being able to resurrect once. Lin Feng threw himself into the water, and Baihe also threw himself into the water. Lin Feng found that after the White Lotus entered the water, it soon became almost the same as water. With the naked eye, the White Lotus can't be seen at all. You can sense it only by sensing it with mental power. Those mutant fish have no intelligence, and it is not easy to detect by he. Lin Feng felt relieved. Master, I went to look for it. From the petals on Lin Feng's body, by his mental fluctuations came. It is good. Lin Feng responded to her with a mental wave. Bai he quickly left. Lin Feng explored along the seabed. In Lin Feng's view, there are so many mutant fish here, there must be spirit stone mines on the seabed. In addition, among the plants on the seabed, there must be many spiritual plants. If the normal steps are followed, the Reiki will recover and the first wave will benefit from plants. Then, there are mutant animals. Many animals mutated after eating some spiritual fruits from spiritual plants. Plants on the bottom of the sea must have mutated, and after being eaten by a large number of fish, they will become mutant fish. So, this time, Lin Feng is going to search along the seabed. So is White Lotus. Anyway, the entrance and exit of this space crack will not open until next month, and Lin Feng plans to spend a month here. Anyway, he has a lot of time. Although it was far away from Suching didn't need Lin Feng to worry. Su City has City Lord Su, and there are so many king-level supporters. He worries, it doesn't actually work. Because the strength is not strong. It's still a bit effective now, because Lin Feng already has king-level combat power by virtue of his sword intent. As for Xin Xinyue's underground city, don't worry. The underground city is closed. Xin Xinyue fought against the aliens for so many years, and the aliens did not find her. Now that she has directly sealed the dungeon, there is no trace of it, and the probability of aliens finding it is very small. So, not much to worry about. Searching on the bottom of the sea is not like land. Field of view is limited. Although there is spiritual power, the scope of spiritual power exploration is definitely not as large as looking directly with the eyes. It's a little troublesome. Years. Lin Feng thought. With the size of the crack in this space, Lin Feng wanted to search the bottom of the sea, not to mention a month, not a year. When will this be found? It is better to make some noise and lead some mutant fish to kill. But there must be a lot of good things in this space crack. They came in specially, and they only killed mutant fish. That puts the cart before the horse a bit. Let's look for it. Lin Feng continued to look for it. After more than an hour, there was still a little gain. He found a coral. These corals are very special, surrounded by some mutant fish to eat. These mutant fish were originally small fish, but now they have become extraordinarily large. Such coral, if you take it back for special treatment and make some elixir, it can greatly change your body. It's a pity that the mutant fish ate a lot, and some of them were still in the crevices. Lin Feng directly killed all the mutant fish and put away the coral. Master, there is something good here, come along the right. 35. At this time, the petals of the White Lotus sent her mental fluctuations. Lin Feng walked in the direction of Baihe's petals. Not long after, Lin Feng got there. He found something good that Baihe said. On the bottom of the sea, there are large areas of seabed forests, and in these forests, a large number of mutant fish are looking for something to eat. Lin Feng took a look and saw that in these forests, some trees have become mutant trees, and the fruits they bear are very good. The mutant fish here are not weak, and there are several of them above the 6th rank. Lin Feng killed all these mutant fish. Then a few mutated trees were dug up. These trees grow on the bottom of the sea, which is interesting. Baihe went to find it again. After a while, she found something good again. It was a kind of seaweed, and these seaweeds were formed into pieces, and there were also a large number of mutant fish looking for food in them. Lin Feng saw that there were some seaweeds in it, which had also mutated and became spiritual plants. These seaweeds will bear some tiny fruits. Many mutant fish will fight for the fruit. This seaweed is naturally Lin Feng's. Dig it out first and place it in a static area. If it is useful in the future, you can open up a special area in the portable space to plant. In this way, Lin Feng and Bai He continued their search. Bai He did surprise Lin Feng. In this dark water, she was looking for things too fast. A large number of useful plants on the seabed were found by her. Not only that, but she also discovered some special mutant fish, such as a rainbow fish, which is very beautiful and can exhale bubbles that can induce hallucinations. He was also caught by Lin Feng, dug a pool and threw it in and let Tong Tong and the others watch. There are also some mutant shrimps. Xu found that after eating the meat of these mutant shrimps, it should be very useful to the human body. As long as Lin Feng encountered, he killed some and threw them into the static area. A day passed and the harvest was not small. It's time for Bai He's transformation. Lin Feng surfaced and entered the space just above the water. Then after resting for some time in it, turn on the acceleration again, use up the acceleration time, and continue the next day. He is going to maintain this rhythm and keep looking. The next day, the surprise brought by Bai He was still not small, and a lot of good things were discovered by her. In the space, a lot of good things found from the bottom of the sea were piled up. The still area was used by Lin Feng to stay still, because there is no time to deal with it now. Living things cannot enter the static area. However, Lin Feng has not caught any other mutant fish except for the beautiful rainbow fish. In this way, I searched for several days. Master, I feel the spiritual veins at the bottom of the sea. On this day, Bai He made a new discovery. Spirit veins. That is, the veins where the spiritual energy swims. Generally speaking, if you find the spiritual vein and follow it, you will basically be able to find the spiritual stone mine. There are so many mutant fish in this space crack, there is indeed no shortage of spiritual stone mines, and there is even a certain possibility that there is a spiritual spring. Bai He, take me there. 35. Lin Feng said. Soon, he joined Bai He. After the meeting, Lin Feng found that the plants in this area were extremely lush. The number of mutant fish is also exceptionally large. These mutant fish in the sea must have a certain sense of the spiritual energy on the bottom of the sea, so gathering here is enough to show that there must be good things in this area. Master, be careful. Bai He slapped the palm of his hand and patted it into the distance. There, a crooked sea snake was rushing towards Lin Feng. This sea snake is too long, dozens of meters, and the speed is too fast. Its strength, I am afraid, has reached the 8th order or more. Bai He patted out a transparent palm, and the sea snake was hit by the shot, and his body was in constant pain. At this moment, a gigantic water monster suddenly appeared, with a bloody mouth, swallowed all the way from the sea snake's tail, and directly swallowed the tens of meters long sea snake. The rules of the ocean are that simple. Big fish eat small fish. Small fish eat shrimp. After the water monster ate the sea snake, it rushed towards Lin Feng again. Lin Feng raised his hand and it was a thunderbolt, but the thunder of the 8th order peak was like tickling the water monster. This guy, I'm afraid it's already 9th rank. Lin Feng thought. The water monster gave him the feeling that it was stronger than that big octopus. Lin Feng raised his hand and it was a sword. Cut the moon. The sword light of Zhang Yue will be affected to a certain extent in the water. Also depends on distance. This distance has little impact. The sword light rushed out. Although this water monster's body is thick, it was attacked by Zhang Yue, and the sword intent of destruction broke out, and all of a sudden, this water monster was beheaded. The sword intent of destroying intent is really easy to use. Lin Feng put away the corpse of the water monster, took Bai He, and probed all the way along the spiritual vein. Below, from time to time, Bai He could see a lot of underwater spiritual plants, and Lin Feng would put them away. There are also quite a few mutant fishes encountered, and the number is much more than in other places. Powerful mutant fish also abound. It saved Lin Feng from going everywhere to find mutant fish to kill.